that caused this very unfortunate incident. And I've been saying it was just a matter of few seconds. Perhaps the aircraft would have recovered. I would say even less than a second. But it was just that perhaps the height was not sufficient for the aircraft, and that is why it mushed into the ground. But let us wait for the court of inquiry and see exactly what could have gone wrong. They'll also look at the controls, they'll also look at the engine parameters, and so on and so forth. Practically everything which is related to the aircraft operation.
Sir, you were Director General Flight Safety and Inspections. So every parameter from the time that the aircraft, left its manufacturing base to the time of the incident, Sandeep, every aspect is looked into. The OEM, original equipment manufacturer, is called in. And for the benefit of our viewers, what the Air Marshal was referring to in terms of CVR and FDR, that's the cockpit voice recorder, and the FDR is the flight data recorder. So every bit of that information is now gleaned from systems that are available in India. So you don't even have to send the FDR or the CVR overseas to decipher. So that kind of helps speed up the process, Sandeep.
Well, absolutely, Gaurav. And, it will involve, as Air Marshal Bhatia was mentioning, it will involve all the stakeholders in this. It will be Hindustan Aeronautics Limited for sure. There will be experts from the DRDO, the designers of the aircraft, and of course, General Electric, GE, which is supplied the engines for this aircraft. So it will be a very, very thorough investigation, Gaurav, in a way that only the Air Force can do. And this is, it is a very prestigious aircraft program. A lot of money is riding on this. A lot of hopes of the Indian Air Force is riding on this program. We have to get to the bottom of this crash, Gaurav, to ensure that we don't have any such crashes in the future, because this is a very, very sensitive program for us, and it's a very critical time, Gaurav. We've seen the kind of the acrimony that we've seen in the last couple of months over the delays to this aircraft program. The fact that the Air Force was unhappy that for the first time the Indian Air Force's numbers have fallen because it's not getting enough Tejas
Sandeep,
in the
give me a
numbers that it
moment
wants.
for the benefit of our viewers. This is the first image that's coming out of Dubai. This is immediately after the crash. Firefighters rushed to the aircraft. It just exploded in a huge ball of smoke and fire. There's a lot of inflammable aviation turbine fuel that needs to be put out to ensure the fire doesn't spread. And there are specialized equipment, specialized firefighters who get into the task of then putting out that fire. And hopefully, Air Marshal Bhatia, we were all hoping against hope that the pilot may have ejected with the zero ejection seat. Again, for the benefit of some of our viewers, the zero ejection seat would help you eject even if you were on ground. But sadly, that was not the case here, unfortunately. Air Marshal Bhatia.
Well, if you look at the images, it doesn't appear that the pilot was, pilot has ejected. But it's quite possible that the pilot was actually quite not even wanting to eject at that time. And he was in the process of recovering the aircraft. What I'm saying over and over again, that in the process of recovery, unfortunately, because of just a few feet, it has mushed into the ground. And that is why, with the impact on the ground, the aircraft has exploded. That is quite possible that the pilot had no intentions at all of even ejecting, and he was in the process of recovering the aircraft.
But isn't there a ceiling, Group Captain Narang, if you're still with us, Group... Okay, so let me bring in Air Marshal Bhatia and Sandeep into this conversation once again. Air Marshal Bhatia, to you first, that there is a cut-off ceiling, that you don't go beneath that to retrieve the aircraft, unless, of course, it's an emergency. In this case, if he thought he could retrieve it, should that process not have been much earlier? And does the instrumentation not tell you that you're about to, have a CFIT or a controlled flight into terrain and tell you to pull up, sir?
Well, all that happens, but here you're seeing an aircraft with the process of recovering from the dive. You can see it is recovering. The nose is coming up gradually, and you can see the nose is up when it hits the ground. The
Yes.
point is there is a certain amount of inertia which is there with the aircraft momentum. And that is why the inertia has brought the aircraft down while it was recovering. And that is why you have a minimum height for recovering from these maneuvers. But the point is here, obviously, the aircraft has gone below the permissible height
Envelope. Yeah.
and whatever it is. But there could be some reason for that. And we, court inquiry will be able to ascertain as to what exactly happened.
Okay, and every bit, Group Captain Narang, every bit of that information is recorded in the cockpit voice recorder and flight data recorder to know whether it was, God forbid, pilot error or any technical aspect, engine issue, any other issue that the plane didn't have enough thrust to pull once again, even though, as Air Marshal Bhatia rightly points out, the aircraft had its nose up, attempting to pull up once again.
No, in fact, aircraft investigation is very scientific process. When we investigate the actions taken by the pilot or the response of the flying machine or the aero engine, most of this data can be analyzed and scientifically we can arrive at the cause of the accident. So I have no doubt when our investigation team and such teams are trained to carry out scientific investigation, and let's say we find a material failure or any system failure, even that can be assessed. So now our aircraft investigation science has reached a level that most of the causes can be identified. I am sure we will be able to ascertain. As regards to pilots, ability to undertake, ejection on time. Remember, this flying is being undertaken close to the ground. When you're flying very close to the ground, it is just a lot has to do also with the appreciation of the pilot. And time to course correct is very, very limited. So we really are not sure what caused this issue. But as far as investigation mechanisms and science of finding the cause, I think we'll be able to arrive at reasonably accurately the cause of the accident. Gaurav?
Okay, Sandeep, how long does this process take? There is clearly no time limit to a court of inquiry, but the Air Force would want to know as quickly as possible so that in case there are any corrective measures that need to be taken at the level of the OEM, engine provider, any other component provider, it can be done as quickly as possible.
Absolutely, Gaurav. It would take something like 2 months for the Indian Air Force to come up with the inquiry into this report, and they will actually have come out with, a very comprehensive picture of what really went on with this crash. And, the timing of this crash, the fact that it happened at a very prestigious air show, all of that, would, of course, put a lot of pressure on the investigators. But the Indian Air Force will go about it very methodically, will go and consult all the stakeholders, and of course the CVR, the FDR, all would be examined in great detail before they came to their conclusions. But the earliest we're being told is, Gaurav, 2 months from now, you will have a fair idea of what exactly went wrong here.
Okay. Air Marshal Bhatia, you've been Director General Flight Safety and Inspections, and you've been AOC in C, WAC, Western Air Command. I want to understand from you, the moment an aircraft goes down, and unfortunately, like in this case, we've lost a pilot, what systems kick in? What is the standard operating procedure? What is done at what stage, sir?
Like it has been pointed out that the court of inquiry will go into the fullest details as to ascertain as to what exactly went wrong. But let me here put in a little word that personally I feel that this particular program, HA program, has been one of the safest programs anywhere in the world, I would say. And we have been flying this aircraft for now a number of years, and it is the accident that have taken place. It's happened only recently in the
Yeah,
past.
only two. One in
Yeah,
2024 and one in 2025. And
that's
this is
right.
the first fatal, sadly.
And I'm convinced that this actually program is very safe. We are going ahead and we must carry on.
Oh,
We are going
absolutely.
for Mark 1, Mark 1A, and then we'll be going for Mark 2 as well. So these, and we, let me tell you that Indian Air Force is going to have not 100, 200, but more than 300 of these aircraft in its inventory. I'm talking about Mark 1, 1A, and Mark 2. And this is a solid platform, and we must continue with the development and making sure that this aircraft remains as safe as possible and really be a backbone as far as the Indian Air Force is concerned.
Sir, when we talk about, and give me a moment, Sandeep, when we were told to talk about supply chain management issues when it comes to Tejas, the G404 engines were delayed, and that is actually delayed the project quite a bit initially and now. Earlier sanctions, now of course we are told COVID, post-COVID. How much of that has been sorted out? How much of that will continue to be a problem for the Indian Air Force in times to come?
Well, Gaurav, you know that a foreign engine on the Tejas is actually a Damocles sword, if you can call it that, on the Tejas program. And we had no option but to go for the imported engine because our own engine is taking time to develop. The Kaveri engine was taking time to develop. We are, of course, had a rethink now on that. We've restarted the engine program with new partners. But for the moment, for this current program, Gaurav, the Mark 1 Alphas, the Mark 2s of the Tejas, they will all be powered by the GE engine, the GE 404 and the GE 414 for the advanced Mark 2 Tejas. So the GE engines are literally, the aircraft is literally built around the engine, Gaurav. It's been designed around the engine. It's something that it's an inescapable reality. And we have taken this choice of going for an American engine, and unfortunately we will have to continue with this engine, and this is something that will worry a lot of the Indian Air Force and of course HAL on precisely the reasons that you mentioned, the supply chain issues that that this could become a pain point for the program where other countries to try, get you to comply on to their wishes will try and squeeze you on these so-called supply chain issues. It is not sanctions, Gaurav, but it is sanctions by another name. And unfortunately, this is the choice that we have taken. And because this program is now so important for us, for the Indian Air Force, especially, which is faced with falling squadron numbers, it needs these aircraft in numbers, and 2 squadrons of these aircraft every year have to join, Gaurav. So that's why a lot is riding on this program. This LCA Tejas program is a critical program for the Indian Air Force. We've been talking about 5th generation fighter aircraft, but those are in the future. You're talking of new 114 aircraft. That's also in the future. The Tejas, Gaurav, is the one aircraft program that we have in hand today.
Yes.
It is a reality, and we have no option but to make it work, Gaurav.
Oh, absolutely. It's just that the Americans have delayed the supply of the G404 engines. Initially, it was because of post-Pokhran sanctions, and subsequently, which actually delayed the entire Tejas light combat aircraft program from the time that it was conceptualized to its final, fructification of this project. And now, post-COVID 2020, there have been supply chain issues. And Sandeep, unfortunately, those problems are likely to linger in times ahead. So our entire program, Air Marshal Bhatia was talking about India's big dream of around 300 plus Tejas. Right now, conceptually, we're about 220 is what we're looking at. But it remains to be seen whether we get engines on time, how many made in America and sent to India, and God willing, one day made in India.
Absolutely, Gaurav. And we have no option now in the near foreseeable future but to go with the American engine. It is possible theoretically to get a new engine into the Tejas, but that will involve extensive redesign of the aircraft, a new set of certification, all of that. That's going to take several years. So for the moment, for the next decade or so, we have no option with the Tejas program, given the kind of criticalities that it is imposed on the Indian Air Force. The fact that we have, for the first time in more than half a century, we have an Indian Air Force which is less than 30 fighter squadrons. We need those numbers.
Yes.
It is the Tejas that can deliver those numbers. And as we mentioned, it comes with this baggage of having an imported engine. It's a very good engine, Gaurav. The F404, the F414, they power frontline American fighter jet, aircraft like the F-16, the F-18. All of these are powered by the GE engines. But
Yes.
it so happens that you're dealing with a mercurial administration that would use this as levers on your supply chain, and that is the problem that the Tejas face.
You know, somewhere down the line, those who were planning all of this should have thought, if Safran or if France was offering engines, should we have diversified our supply chain instead of putting all our eggs in the American basket? But unfortunately, that's a debate for another time and another situation. Right now, it's a very, very tragic piece of information and news that's coming in from the Dubai Airshow. I have Group Captain Rajiv Narang joining me on this broadcast live. Group Captain Narang, when you look at these images and when you look at the Tejas program, is this crash likely to adversely impact the Tejas story that India has put so much faith into, sir?
Gaurav, I think it is not likely to have any major impact on India's trajectory of self-reliance through Tejas, because Tejas has proven itself to be a very good platform. And learning from the experience of Tejas Mark 1, the Mark 1 is emerging to be a very potent platform. And in future, the way Mark 2 will come up, and it will become a stepping stone to our AMCA program. And in fact, even the development of naval LCA Tejas has given us so much of learning that we are at the stage that from here onward, there is no turning back. The only issue is we have to address the issue of some of the vulnerabilities and dependencies we have. And
Absolutely.
The way we are going ahead for collaboration with Safran, I think we need to launch a Tejas, a Kaveri Mark II with the private sector to fill the deficiencies of the last Kaveri engine in parallel with the Safran program, because Safran program will use M88 core, which means some certain level of technology will remain with Safran. We will have very higher level of self-reliance,
Okay.
but certain level of dependency which will be there, and it will be a different class of engine.
Yes.
So about below 100 kilonewton class of engine, we will still need it, and the number of Tejas Mark 1A, in fact, future I see. Maybe we will come up with the stealth variant of Tejas Mark II in some time.
Okay.
And maybe we will have those kind of options in future. So I think we must think little long term.
Oh,
And
absolutely. Absolutely. You know, the mistake that was made, Air Marshal Bhatia, with the HF-24 Marut, which was shelved apparently because of an underpowered engine, that dream, crash landed then. It should not happen this time. Is that the message that is very strongly going out, sir?
Absolutely, because now we are embarked on a program where there should not be any looking back, and we must carry on full throttle, I would say, because now we are talking about Mark 1, 1A, Mark 2, and then we are going ahead with our AMCA program for that. But basically, like it has been brought out earlier also, as we all know, the engines also have to play a very important part. So we are now looking at not only GE engines, but we are also looking at Safran engines
Yes.
and our own homegrown Kaveri Mark II. So we have to actually carry on so that we become fully sufficient and fully self-sufficient in producing fighter aircraft.
Oh,
For now
absolutely.
and
Because
for
there
the
are many,
future.
Sandeep, there are many doubting Thomases who will now rise and try to put a spoke in India's indigenous fighter jet program. There are many who will once again start saying acquire, buy from overseas. Those are the ones that India must beware and continue to pursue the Made in India dream, ensuring in a very transparent manner, in case there are niggles that need to be removed, they're removed forthwith, because the most prestigious thing for us, the most precious thing for us, are the lives of our pilots.
Gaurav. And the mistake, as you mentioned, the mistake we made with the HF-24 Marut, which actually set us back by decades, that should never happen again. And we have just one shot with the Tejas. And once the Tejas comes online, Gaurav, as our panelists were mentioning, it will lead to the Tejas Mark II, it will lead to the AMCA. All of this is interlinked. It is,
Yes.
if you cannot be self-sufficient in fighter design, fighter manufacture, if you give up halfway, midstream, you say, this program has problems, and you exit, as we did with the HF-24, a catastrophic mistake we made almost half a century ago. But you will be forever at the mercy of all the countries that have this
And there will be
exclusive
many at
technology.
this stage. There will be many at this stage who will come and say, buy aircraft from overseas instead of saying, pursue this goal, continue down this line. Those who don't learn from history are condemned to repeat it. Unfortunately, India abandoned the HF-24 Marut project. Had you continued to push ahead, we would have been a major weapons manufacturer. This time with Tejas, India must pursue. I'll have much more on this on India First at 8 p.m. tonight. I want to thank Group Captain Narang Air Marshal Bhatia and Sandeep Punithan for joining me on this part of the show. It's been a very, very tragic day, a very tragic outing at the Dubai Airshow, where we lost a Tejas and unfortunately an ace fighter pilot of the Indian Air Force. Our condolences. We stand in grief with the bereaved families, but as of now, we are still waiting to get more information on what exactly happened at Dubai. A quick break. News and updates continue on India Today. Stay with us.
You are watching India Today.
सैल्यूट है जी। आप देश की रक्षा में जान लगा देते हैं
और आप
घर घर में तार लगाते हैं जी। ई बीम टेक्नोलॉजी से बनी, न जले न पिघले, सबकी रक्षा करे।
हम सरहद पर लोगों की रक्षा करते हैं और आप देश के अंदर। सैल्यूट तो बनता है जी।
अपार अणुशक्ति फायर प्रोटेक्ट वायर, अपार देश का तार।
Motorola Edge 60 Pro. Hello, Moto.
Every story finds a place. Every voice gets a platform. Every side has its say. Your channel for every headline. Prime Team on India Today, India's only democratic newsroom.
मैं केवल शिक्षा मंत्री के रूप में नहीं, एक पेरेंट के रूप में इस घटना को देखता हूं। मैं एक पत्र लिख रहा हूं, स्कूलों में सीबीएसई के मानकों के आधार पर किस प्रकार से जो मेंटल हेल्थ, मेंटल वेलबीइंग के लिए व्यवस्थाएं की जानी चाहिए, क्या वो सुचारू रूप से हो रही हैं, इसके संदर्भ में मैं स्कूलों को पूछ रहा हूं। और कहीं स्कूलों को अगर जरूरत है तो हम उनकी हैंड होल्डिंग करेंगे, उनको मदद करेंगे। हमारी अगली पीढ़ी मानसिक रूप से स्वस्थ रहे, विषाद के में ना पड़े, इसकी हमें बहुत चिंता है। हम दिल्ली के पेरेंट्स की इस चिंता को शेयर करते हैं। हमने एक कमेटी भेजी है जो जांच करेगी, अपनी रिपोर्ट लाएगी। उसके पैरामीटर ये भी होंगे, क्या मेंटल हेल्थ से संबंधित हर चीज का फॉलोअप किया जा रहा था, नहीं किया जा रहा था। अगर कुछ कमी है तो भविष्य में ना रहे, इसका भी ध्यान रखें।
That it is not a suicide, it is an institutional murder. The fact that 4 teachers have been involved in this entire incident is shocking, including a headmaster. The school has taken no responsibility. It is because of this protest that you have seen FIRs being launched against these teachers. Unfortunately, the school has only asked for a suspension, not a resignation. The education department of the Delhi government has set up a committee with 3 principals on it. We oppose these 3 principals being part of this committee. The committee needs to be reconstituted, and a delegation will be meeting the education minister today on this issue.
Details have emerged of the Bihar cabinet portfolio distribution, and for the first time in 2 decades, Nitish Kumar will not have the Home Ministry. The confirmation has come in that it will be with the BJP this time. Deputy Chief Minister Samrat Chaudhary, who also took oath with Nitish Kumar, becomes now the Bihar Home Minister. This was one of the core sticking points, and many thought that there's no way Nitish Kumar will give in to any pressure when it comes to Home Ministry, and that's because it's been under Chief Minister Nitish since 2005. Now the BJP seems to have played their cards right and ensured the Home Ministry is given to the BJP this time around. Mind you, one big factor in this would have been the fact that the BJP is the single largest party in Bihar, and so with that, in the NDA, they will want more say. The chief ministership has gone to Nitish Kumar. The Home Ministry, it seems, is the compromise. And Samrat Chaudhary, the Deputy Chief Minister of Bihar, has been given the portfolio of Home, a ministry and a portfolio that's always been extremely close to Chief Minister Nitish Kumar since 2005. He's held on to this portfolio. Maria Shakil is joining us with more details on this. Maria, what do you make of this development? Nitish Kumar having to let go of the Home portfolio, give it over to the BJP?
Massive. I would say that this is certainly a huge development in the context of Bihar. Remember, Akshita, we have been saying that it is not about the Speaker's chair, which was the point of contention. It was the Home Ministry portfolio, which was being discussed repeatedly between the BJP and the JDU leadership. Now it seems that the BJP has had his way, and Nitish Kumar will not be holding the Home Ministry portfolio. It becomes important in this context, Akshita, particularly is that since 2005 that Nitish has been in power, he has held that portfolio closely because he wanted to present a model of governance and a model of safety security which was different from what was there pre-2005, which is infamously known as the Jungle Raj days. So Nitish Kumar wanted to send that message that his government is looking robust and the law and order situation in Bihar is strong because it is he who is at the helm of affairs and he is the one holding the Home Ministry portfolio. If that portfolio has now gone to the BJP and Samrat Chaudhary, the Deputy Chief Minister, is holding that portfolio, it's a clear signal of a power shift, a visible shift in the perception that will be going now on ground zero also in Bihar. It is an NDA government led by Chief Minister Nitish Kumar. The list, though, if you look at it, is the list which was released was largely of the ministers from the BJP quota who are now part of the Council of Ministers. As far as the JDU ministers is concerned, That list is not out yet, what portfolios they have got. But for the moment, what we can certainly say is that Samrat Chaudhary is now the Home Minister of Bihar, and Nitish Kumar, of course, the face of this ministry as the Chief Minister.
Okay, interesting development this. But Maria, did you also see this coming? You know, I remember a couple of days ago, you did say that the biggest bone of contention is over the Home Ministry. The fact that Nitish has given it over, do you think it's simply by virtue of the BJP being the single largest party?
BJP is the single largest party. It has 5 more seats more than the JDU. Remember, Akshita, that in 2020, the BJP won 74 seats. Nitish Kumar's JDU was at 43. The number of seats that the BJP won was almost twice that of the JDU, and Nitish Kumar had continued to be the Chief Minister. At that time, Samrat Chaudhary became the deputy, but he was the finance minister. He held the portfolio of finance minister, not as the home minister. Home ministry portfolio remained with Nitish Kumar. The BJP was seen as the big brother who was being magnanimous in ensuring that Nitish Kumar remains the face of the government. I would see this as a huge messaging that is coming in from this. Yes, Nitish Kumar is the chief minister, but with Samrat Chaudhary as the home minister, the equation certainly changes.
Thanks very much, Maria, for those details. I'll bring in Rohit Singh, who's joining us live from Patna as well. Rohit, what does this really mean? If you look at the current structure of the cabinet and the fact that the home portfolio, we all know how powerful that portfolio is, has gone to Samrat Chaudhary. Does this kind of also send across a message that this is Nitish's control being watered down?
Well, yes, Home Department going to Samrat Chaudhary to the BJP quota is a clear indication now that Samrat Chaudhary is no longer the Deputy Chief Minister of Bihar, but it would be very safe to say that he perhaps is the mini Chief Minister in Bihar now, because the Home Department, the policing and law and order, everything has now gone in his hand. So this is a big shift as far as the power politics, power dynamics in Bihar is concerned. And this time it clearly goes on to show that the BJP has had its way, because remember, if the BJP, despite being the single largest party in Bihar, has compromised with the post of Chief Minister and has given that post to Nitish Kumar, then they have in turn in fact taken a lot of large part of the flesh also, we can say, with the Home Department coming to BJP's kitty, because remember, for the last 20 years, Nitish Kumar continued to hold the Home Department come what may, whether he was with the BJP or whether he was with the RJD. He switched sides several times, but he continued to remain in charge of the Home Department. But now, when the BJP, as I told you, despite being the single largest party, has shown a large heart and has made Nitish Kumar the Chief Minister, it's a big price, huge price that Nitish Kumar has had to pay for this by, in fact, handing over the Home Department to the BJP quota, and now Samrat Chaudhary, very likely we can say, is the mini Chief Minister. And remember, during election campaign, Amit Shah had said when he was campaigning for Samrat Chaudhary, कि आप इनको वोट दीजिए, हम इनको और बड़ा बनाएंगे. So that was an indication. And today, when this list has come out and the Home Department is with Samrat Chaudhary, obviously it's a big elevation for Samrat Chaudhary and his stature. Yeah. Back to you.
Thanks very much, Rohit, for putting those details in context for us. So the big news break coming in from Bihar, that after decades now, Chief Minister Nitish letting go of the home portfolio, handing it over to the BJP. Okay, let's move on and get you details of that horrifying and tragic suicide of a 15-year-old student in Delhi. Furious protests broke out on the streets as the principal and teachers of the school were suspended. Remember, the teenager in his suicide note had said that he was being harassed by his teachers. His family, however, is demanding that the teachers be sacked, rightly so.
Protests mount and the calls for justice only echo louder. A 16-year-old boy, gone too soon, died by suicide, jumped off an elevated metro platform, leaving behind a heart-wrenching note, one that brings damning allegations of harassment and abetment to suicide against the school faculty tonight. An FIR has been lodged, statements yet to be recorded. The Delhi government's education department has formed a 5-member panel to investigate.
हमने एक कमेटी भेजी है जो जांच करेगी, अपनी रिपोर्ट लाएगी। उसके पैरामीटर ये भी होंगे क्या मेंटल हेल्थ से संबंधित हर चीज का फॉलोअप किया जा रहा था, नहीं किया जा रहा था। अगर कुछ कमी है तो भविष्य में ना रहे, इसका भी ध्यान रखें।
The headmaster and 3 teachers of the school have been suspended. But neither the family nor the protesters are convinced. A heartbroken father, while speaking to India Today, has expressed his deep disappointment with both the school and the probing agencies, as the teachers named in the note have only been temporarily suspended.
पुलिस ने अभी तक कोई कार्रवाई नहीं करी। कल जब 2 बजे हमारी जो प्रोटेक्शन चल रहा था, 2 लोग अंदर मिलने गए थे, तभी भी प्रिंसिपल की ये वर्डिंग थी, इतनी घटिया वर्डिंग थी, आप सोच नहीं सकते। बोलते हैं कि ऐसा कोई भी नाम लिख के सुसाइड करेगा तो हम कैसे सस्पेंड करेंगे उनको, हमें इन्वेस्टिगेशन करना पड़ेगा। तो जो गए थे वो लेडी ने बोला कि आपके बेटे को आप मार दो और मेरा नाम लिखो सुसाइड नोट में। इतनी हमने लैंग्वेज यूज करने के बाद भी उनको कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ा। जब कल रात को हाई लेवल की कमेटी गठित हुई तो इन्होंने कल सस्पेंशन किया है, लेकिन सस्पेंशन इनफ नहीं है, इनको अरेस्ट करना चाहिए और उनको कड़ी से कड़ी सजा करनी चाहिए।
The police are now reviewing CCTV footage, focus being on a shoulder shove incident and the school's behavior after the student slipped during play practice. Both mentioned by the student in his final note. As the investigation unfolds, one question echoes across Delhi. Who failed this young boy? Bureau Report, India Today.
Hi, I'm Sana. Here's your weather update. Delhi maximum 27 and minimum 14 degrees. Mumbai maximum 33 and minimum 22 degrees. Kolkata maximum 29 and minimum 19 degrees. Bengaluru maximum 25 and minimum 20 degrees. Chennai maximum 31 and minimum 24 degrees. Hyderabad maximum 28 and minimum 16 degrees.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com. Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com.
Hello and welcome. Good evening. You're watching Super 6 here on India Today. I'm Akshita Nandagopal, and let's begin with the breaking news that's coming in. Prime Minister Modi has touched down in Johannesburg of South Africa for the G20 summit. These are the images that have just come in of the Prime Minister disembarking from his plane. He's also put out a message about how excited he is to be there for the G20 summit. He will be addressing 3 sessions in all, but also a very warm welcome for the Prime Minister in Johannesburg. There's a cultural welcome for him. You'll see images of that in just a moment. He's there for the next 3 days, and for the G20 summit, which has already, of course, been in headlines over the fact that US President Donald Trump has chosen to boycott this particular summit. The Chinese president also isn't there. Xi Jinping, however, isn't there because he's cutting back on travel. But for Prime Minister Modi, the focus is going to be on 3 sessions that he will be addressing. The summit this time, the G20 summit, is themed around solidarity, equality and sustainability. And Prime Minister Modi, while also putting out a note about this particular visit to Johannesburg, highlighted how he's particularly excited over the fact that the African Union was made a part of the G20 summit when India had hosted the G20. If you remember, in 2023, in the national capital, when all G20 leaders had gathered in Delhi, that's when the African Union was made a part of the group of 20. And so the Prime Minister highlighted that in his note to say that's what makes him particularly excited to be there for this year's G20, which is being hosted by South Africa. There are also going to be a number of crucial bilateral meetings that will be taking place with the leaders who are present in Johannesburg. There were questions about whether there would be any sort of meeting, or at least a face-to-face meet and greet between President Donald Trump and Prime Minister Modi. But like I said, with President Donald Trump choosing to boycott the G20 summit, he is not attending this particular summit in Johannesburg, which also led to quite a bit of controversy because you also had Ramaphosa being very, very critical of the boycott decision taken by Donald Trump. But for Prime Minister Modi, of course, while he will be focusing on the theme of this year's Summit of Solidarity, Equality and Sustainability, in his note he did say that he's going to be putting forth India's perspective in line with India's vision of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam and One Earth, One Family and One Future. That was largely the theme also of the G20 Summit when we had hosted it back in 2023. It's something that the Prime Minister will highlight once again. So these are the images on your screens right now of Prime Minister Modi. This is from a few moments ago as the Prime Minister disembarked his plane, being welcomed by, in fact, the dignitaries present there. And right after that, a guard of honor also for the Prime Minister as he made his way towards the venue from the airport. 3 days that will be packed, of course, with bilaterals and the fact that the Prime Minister will be addressing 3 sessions as part of the G20. Pranay Upadhyay of India Today Global is joining us with more details on this. Pranay, to you, what's the most significant highlight of the Prime Minister's visit to South Africa for the G20?
At a time, Akshita, when the G20 summit is taking place for the first time on the African soil, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, in whose presidency African Union got entry into the G20 summit. So that's why this G20 summit of South Africa is very important and significant for India's participation, India's role, because India played a pivotal role in the entry of South Africa and the African Union into the G20 as a permanent member. Besides that, the very topic, the theme for this year's 20th G20 summit is set as the solidarity, equality, and and inclusivity for everyone. So that is the theme, which was actually an extension of the theme took by India, which was based on the ancient Indian wisdom, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, one earth, one family, one future. And South Africa is also taking it forward in the terms of making it solidarity-based, equality-based, and inclusivity-based. A theme for the issue of G20. As far as the India's or Prime Minister Narendra Modi's presence on the G20 forum is concerned, because he will be participating in all the important forums, he will be making his intervention and he will be sharing India's perspective, because India emerged as the most prominent voice of the global south. And you will recall, Akshita, that during India's presidency in 2023, India not only hosted G20 summit but also held a meeting of the global south, which was attended by over 70 countries of the global south, developing countries. So G20, and interestingly, Akshita, last 4 G20 summits were held were hosted by the developing countries, including Indonesia, India, Brazil, and now South Africa. So this is the continuation and importance of the South, the voice of global South, developing countries, and India's primary focus will be how to make the global management, the institutional framework for the international affairs to be global South-led. How the issues of concern and issues of development, issues of logistics supply, issues of resource management, and issues of the finance availability for the developing countries should be given priority in the global, global order, in the global management.
Okay, all right. Thanks, Pranay, for joining us with those details. So that's one of the top headlines of the day. Let's run you through all the big stories, the top 10 that we're tracking this hour. Well, yes, Prime Minister Modi is in South Africa on a 3-day visit to take part in the G20 Leaders Summit in Johannesburg. Indian HAL Tejas fighter jet crashed, plunging to the ground in Dubai during the Dubai Airshow. This was during an aerial demonstration. Unfortunately, the pilot succumbed to injuries. The IAF has ordered a court of inquiry. Big revelations have come to the fore in the Delhi blast case as the probe intensifies. Sources told India Today that Jaish module involved in the blast was trying to turn hospitals in Kashmir into large weapons storage centers. India Today has accessed videos showing stocks of explosive materials which were seized from the rented accommodation of one of the accused, Muzammil, in Faridabad. Sources also revealed that more than 3 dozen suicide bombing videos were sent via an encrypted app to Muzammil. One of the valley's oldest newspapers, Kashmir Times, is now under the radar of key security agencies. The Jammu and Kashmir police raided the Jammu office as part of their probe. State Investigation Agency yesterday said it recovered AK-47 cartridges also from their office. The probe into the heartbreaking case of a 16-year-old teenager dying by suicide in Delhi is intensified. Protests broke out with protesters demanding the resignation of all teachers who have been suspended. The Enforcement Directorate raided parts of West Bengal and Jharkhand linked to the coal scam. The raids are linked to coal mining fraud, which is a massive illegal mining racket that's been busted. This was in West Bengal's Howrah district, where a bag of cash and a large quantity of gold jewelry was also seized. Amid the escalating power tussle in Karnataka, Chief Minister Siddaramaiah has asserted that he will continue as Chief Minister and will present the budget himself. We'll get you all those details in just a few moments. Massive Tamil Nadu versus Centre face-off over metro rail project in Coimbatore and Madurai. DMK cadre protested in Madurai against the Centre for not giving the nod to metro projects in Tamil Nadu. Donald Trump and Zoran Mamdani, the New York mayor, will sit down in a highly anticipated meeting that will take place later tonight at about 1:30 a.m. All right, we begin with the latest updates coming in from Karnataka, where the suspense continues over whether we're going to see a change in Chief Minister or not. In the latest update, amid all of the power games between the Siddaramaiah camp and the DK Shivkumar camp that we've been witnessing in the last 24 hours, the latest update is that Chief Minister Siddaramaiah has spoken to Kharge and has in fact communicated to him that MLAs must be told very clearly to stop all of the speculation. Siddaramaiah has urged Kharge, who is of course the Congress chief, to stop MLAs from all of this non-stop public talk of what's going to happen on an internal issue, as he calls it. I want to bring in Nagarjun Dwarkanath for more details on this. Nagarjun, what's really happening? You know, there's pin-drop silence from the High Command right now, and that's even pushed Siddaramaiah now to urge Kharge to step in and stop all this.
So a bunch of MLAs from DK Shivkumar camp visited Delhi and met Mallikarjun Kharge in his residence. Now Chief Minister Siddaramaiah has spoken to Mallikarjun Kharge, is what we are picking up from the sources. And the CM has told Kharge to ensure that no MLA goes to Delhi henceforth, and this causes an embarrassment to the party. Is what Chief Minister is of an opinion that all of the discussions should be within the party forum and within the walls of the Congress office and not in public. And hence, we have seen the first reaction from the Congress High Command also that Surjewala has tweeted this evening saying that no MLA will have to speak in public, and whatever has to be told, the party has taken a note of the recent developments, and he has spoken to both DK Shivkumar and Chief Minister Siddaramaiah.
Okay, Nagarjun, just stay with me. Let's, in fact, round up all that's happened in the last 24 hours. There have been a whole lot of developments, essentially, because you've had both sides. Chief Minister Siddaramaiah's camp trying to pressure the High Command. DK Shivkumar's camp, as you know, trying to pressure the High Command, with many MLAs even landing and touching down in the national capital. Let's round up all of those developments for you in our next report.
Karnataka's political drama is hitting a fever pitch, but Chief Minister Siddaramaiah remains firm. He has declared that he will continue as Chief Minister, and any talk of leadership change is for the Congress High Command to decide. While Chief Minister will be meeting Mallikarjun Kharge on Saturday, he spoke to Mallikarjun Kharge asking him to draw an end to MLAs talking in public on internal matters, saying High Command must stop the chaos.
High Command ಏನು ತೀರ್ಮಾನ ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ ಅದು ನಾನು ಕೇಳಬೇಕು, DK ಶಿವಕುಮಾರ್ ಕೇಳಬೇಕು, ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಕೇಳಬೇಕು. ಅದು ಹೈಕಮಾಂಡ್ ಅವರು ಏನು ತೀರ್ಮಾನ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅದು ಮಾಡಬೇಕು.
ಎರಡು ಬಜೆಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ ಸರ್?
ಹೌದು.
ಎರಡು ಬಜೆಟ್ ಇದೆ.
ಯಾವುದು? ನೀನು ಯಾಕೆ ಅದನ್ನು ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀಯ?
ಬಜೆಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ.
ಹೌದು, ನಾನೇ ಮುಂದುವರಿತೀನಿ. ಬಜೆಟ್ನು ನಾನೇ ಮಂಡಿಸ್ತೀನಿ.
Meanwhile, Randeep Surjewala of the Congress has said that the party has taken note of opinion of party functionaries and that speculations must be put to rest. And this comes after a whirlwind day of political action split between Delhi and Bengaluru. In the capital, MLAs from the DK Shivkumar camp landed at Kharge's residence late Thursday night, renewing pressure on the 2.5-year Power Shep Act. Their demand was that it's time for DKS to take the top chair. Sources say Kharge told them that the High Command will take the final call.
I'm loyal to Congress. High Command is there. Whatever High Command says, we follow that. That's all.
No, but you are saying you haven't spoken about Mr. DK Shivkumar to Mr. Kharge?
Nothing. That is left to High Command. We have not discussed anything.
But back home, DK Shivakumar distanced himself from the meeting, claiming he knew nothing about it.
He will reshuffle the government and cabinet. So all of them are interested that they wanted to become ministers. It's quite natural they will go and meet the leaders of the Delhi. It is quite natural they will go out of the Delhi. Apart from that, what I can say, they have every right. I have not taken anyone.
Yet he dropped a cryptic social media post. I quote, "Where there is effort, there is fruit. Where there is devotion, there is Lord." And I unquote. Meanwhile, ministers from Siddaramaiah camp hurtled over dinner on Thursday, calling for clarity, stability, and urging the chief minister to reach out to Kharge and Venugopal to end the escalating chaos. However, the leaders claim it was a routine meet.
No political discussions happened. We just had dinner, and we also discussed about our departments. These kind of discussions, generally we had discussions.
And watching from the sidelines, BJP leaders continue to take sharp jabs at a Congress government locked in its own power tussle.
Siddaramaiah will not leave the CM post. DK will not keep quiet. He wants CM because of the agreement. 2.5 years. Entire Karnataka is suffering from the development.
The suspense continues. Siddaramaiah stands firm. DKS signals ambition and the High Command holds the key. Karnataka's power play is far from its final act. With Nagarjun Dwarkanath in Bengaluru, Bureau Report, India Today.
So what's going to play out in the coming days in Karnataka, and what's with the indecisiveness of the High Command? Why are they struggling to just pick one leader and put an end to all of this suspense? Joining me on this broadcast is R.K. Upadhyay, senior journalist. We also have Dr. Sandeep Shastri with us, political analyst. Nagarjun Dwarkanath, my colleague from Bengaluru, will also be with us to get us insights of what's happening on the ground. Mr. R.K. Upadhyay, I'd like to begin with you. You know, what's happening right now in Karnataka, many would argue, is easily avoidable. You're seeing both of these leaders resorting to these power games, power flexes, when all of it can be ended with one word from the High Command.
Akshita, yesterday Siddaramaiah completed 2.5 years, and from day one, Shivakumar is in Delhi, pressing his demand for the chief minister's post. And he says that, it was promised that after 2.5 years, he will be made the chief minister. And now he's all out to do it. And he knows it is now or never for it. Because though he knows that, Siddaramaiah commands the numbers, there is the promise made by the High Command at the time of the formation of the government. In May 2023, when the government was formed, it took the High Command 5 days to really convince the two sides who bitterly fought for the chief minister's post. In fact, I remember the results came on May 13th, and 14th to 18th, this drama went on in Delhi. And then finally, Sonia Gandhi called from Himachal Pradesh, where she was holidaying, called Shivakumar and told him, please accept the DCM post and we'll ensure that, you get justice. And that is when it was resolved. And the 19th, the agreement was announced, and 20th of May 2023, this government came into being. So since then, Shivakumar has been keeping quiet. And now he knows that he has to put up his demand and, get this done. Because he has been a loyalist of the Congress party. I mean, Siddaramaiah might be senior. He has had one full term as chief minister, and now he has completed 2.5 years. And, Shivakumar is no novice. He has won 8 consecutive assembly elections, 4 from Sattanur, 4 from Kanakapura, both from, Bangalore South. And he has had his own supporters among the Vakaligas. And in fact, 2023 election, Congress would not have won 135, but for his strong support as the KPCC president.
No, but I'd also like to bring in Dr. Sandeep Shastri. While we're all very critical of the High Command, it is a tough decision to make, Dr. Shastri. One, yes, many would argue that needs to be taken, but a difficult one nonetheless.
Akshita, always leadership needs to take difficult decisions, otherwise it's not a leadership. Now, it's only difficult decisions that they need to take. And let's look at what both the leaders, Siddaramaiah and Shivakumar, are saying. neither of them are denying that there is a likelihood of a challenge. While Siddaramaiah says that the High Command will decide, Shiv Kumar also is putting the ball in the court of the High Command. So when both are taking that stance, it's very clear that there is something that possibly happened in 2023 when the government took over. And in the past, let's remember, Siddaramaiah has had a full 5-year term. SM Krishna has had a full 5-year term, but on both those occasions, there was no such question of an agreement. So I think in spite of the challenges that the Congress party today faces, they need to take a decision. The High Command needs to resolve this issue either way. See, they need to resolve the issue either by saying clearly, no, the Chief Minister continues, or say that the time has come for a change. Now, keeping this issue in the limbo, allowing both the leaders to say High Command will take a decision, High Command will take a decision, it is creating a drift in the party, and it is creating a situation where governance is not the focus, but the chair is the focus. And
Agreed.
It has been said by Siddaramaiah
it's
that
bad
this
optics.
is his last
It's
term.
bad optics for the government, for the Karnataka Congress, because it seems that they're busy in this all-out fight and there's no focus on administration or governance. It's a bad look for the Congress. The fact that they're not able to quell and put out all of these fires, no matter how long it's been raging on for. And I want to bring in Nagarjun also on this, because we've seen so much happen, Naga, in the last 24 hours, and yet been dropped silence, if I'm not wrong, from the High Command. Have they said anything at all?
Absolutely nothing, except for a tweet by Ranjit Singh Surjewala, who's the in-charge secretary of Karnataka Congress. It's shocking that how the High Command is not has not acted on this in the last 48 hours. We have got MLAs reaching Delhi. We have got MLAs making statement. DK Shiv coming out and saying that no one can stop the MLAs. Siddaramaiah saying that he will continue to be the Chief Minister. In 48 hours, he's told twice that he would be presenting the next budget of Karnataka in March 2026. Amidst all of this, High Command has been mute spectator and not doing anything. That costed them Rajasthan, that costed them Chhattisgarh, that costed them Punjab, and now they are doing the same in Karnataka. Many within the DK Shiv camp are saying that yes, their party has gone through a debacle in Bihar, and that's exactly the reason that you need to have a fresh face with present system and setup in Karnataka. The party cannot win 2028 is what DK Shiv camp is claiming. But however, the CM camp is claiming that I am the tallest OBC leader. While you need to consolidate the OBC, the party cannot remove me because the party's agenda itself is OBC plank, and hence Siddaramaiah has a strong foot forward. And also after the Congress debacle in Bihar, they have no other option apart from going with a strong regional satrap in 2028.
But you know, if you look at it right now, the battle between Siddaramaiah and DK Shiv Kumar, I just want to also play out for you exactly what Siddaramaiah said versus what DK Shiv Kumar said today. The tone between the two is very different. And what's very clear is that everything is not okay. There may be attempts to say that, look, there's no fight whatsoever while the power tussle happens of these kind of dinner meets and whatnot. You see the kind of messaging from both Siddaramaiah and DK Shiv Kumar today, and you understand that, yes, all is not well. Listen into this.
ಶಿವರಾಯ ಸ್ವಾಮಿ ಹೋಗಿದಾರ ಎಲ್ಲೋ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ ನನಗೆ, ಬಟ್ ಇವರೇ ಹೇಳಿದಾರಲ್ಲ, ಡಿಕೆ ಹೇಳಿದಾರಲ್ಲ, ಡಿಕೆ ಶಿವಕುಮಾರ್ ಹೇಳಿದಾರಲ್ಲಪ್ಪ, ಹೋಗಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ನಾನು ಮಾತಾಡಿದೆ ಅವ್ರ ಜೊತೆನಲ್ಲಿ, ಇವತ್ತು ಮಾತಾಡಿದೆ, ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದಿದ್ರು, ವಿಡಿಯೋ ಕಾನ್ಫರೆನ್ಸ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂಡ ಬಂದಿದ್ರು. ಅವ್ರು ಮಾತಾಡಿದಾಗ ನಾನು ಬಂದಿರೋದು ಕೇಂದ್ರ ಸರ್ಕಾರದ ಕೃಷಿ ಸಚಿವರನ್ನು ಭೇಟಿ ಮಾಡಕ್ ಬಂದಿದ್ದೀನಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು. ಅಂತಿಮವಾಗಿ ಹೈಕಮಾಂಡ್ ಏನ್ ತೀರ್ಮಾನ ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ ಅದನ್ನ ನಾನು ಕೇಳಬೇಕು, ಡಿ ಕೆ ಶಿವಕುಮಾರ್ ಕೇಳಬೇಕು, ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಕೇಳಬೇಕು. ಅದು ಹೈಕಮಾಂಡ್ ಅವ್ರು ಏನ್ ತೀರ್ಮಾನ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅದು ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಹೌದು, ಯಾವುದು ನೀನು ಯಾಕೆ ಅದನ್ನು ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀಯ? ಹೌದು, ನಾನೇ ಮುಂದುವರಿತೀನಿ, ಬಜೆಟ್ನು ನಾನೇ ಮಂಡಿಸ್ತೀನಿ.
ಐ ವಿಲ್ ನಾಟ್ ಡೂ ದಟ್. ಅದು ನನ್ನ
ನನ್ನ ಬ್ಲಡ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಮೇಕಿಂಗ್ ಎ ಗ್ರೂಪ್ ಇಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ದೇರ್ ಇನ್ ಮೈ ಬ್ಲಡ್. ಆಲ್ 140 MLAs are my MLAs. My MLAs. Honorable Chief Minister decided he will reshuffle the government. He will reshuffle the government and cabinet. So all of them are interested that they wanted to become ministers. It is quite natural they will go and meet the leaders of the Delhi. It is quite natural they will go out of the Delhi. Apart from that, what I can say, they have every right. I have not taken anyone. Some of them went and met Karnataka. Along with Chief Minister also they went in the plane, some of them. What is wrong? They are going, it is their life, whether no one has called them, but voluntarily they are going and showing their faces. They wanted to show their presence that they are in the forefront and they can do work and they want responsibility.
Okay, bringing back Mr. R.K. Upadhyay and Sandeep Shastri on this. Mr. Upadhyay, I refuse to believe at any point that these MLAs landed up in Delhi without getting the nod from D.K. Shivkumar. These are power tactics that D.K. Shivkumar is a master of and is very familiar with.
Yes, Akshita. He has right now sent about 10 MLAs who knocked on the doors of Mallikarjuna Kharge around 11 o'clock in the night yesterday. And I'm told that 10 more will be going today or tomorrow or whatever.
Yeah.
So he's going to keep on piling pressure on the High Command until it makes up the decision. One more thing in favor of Shivkumar is he took over as KPCC president in July 2020 at the height of COVID. He has, led the party to victory in 2023 election. And there have been precedents when the KPCC presidents automatically became the chief ministers. Whether it was Virendra Patil or, S.M. Krishna, all these people were KPCC presidents and then they were automatically moved as chief ministers. This time, an exception was made because Siddaramaiah was a senior person and he insisted that he should become the chief minister for the second term. See, he has already had one full term as 5 years. And then Shivkumar has rightly claimed that, he should get a chance because he has been an MLA for 36 years, unbroken record. And he has also served the party loyally. And, he has come to the crisis whenever the party has faced a crisis, not just in Karnataka, across the country. So that being the case, he has a valid claim for, chief minister's post. It is for the High Command to, get Siddaramaiah to come around and accept the fact that, he has to share power. And he's already 77. And it's high time that, he also has to look at what Shivkumar thinks about this situation and he should be accommodated.
Yeah. But at the same time, do you also think, Dr. Shastri, and this is something that we were speaking about yesterday, that with all of this talk of a cabinet reshuffle, that this is D.K. Shivkumar's attempt to ensure that he's accommodated, at least in the cabinet reshuffle, that he knows there's no chance of a CM change, that there's going to be no way that he is going to become the chief minister right now. So keeping that in mind, this is his attempt to go ahead and ensure that at least in any other way, I'm brought in more, I'm accommodated more.
I don't think that's the tactic or strategy at all. He has not spoken about the cabinet reshuffle at all, because conceding a cabinet reshuffle and ensuring your people in the cabinet, I think is a sense conceding the fact that you are giving up your expectation of chief ministership, which D.K. Shivkumar at this stage I don't think would do. I think he is going to keep the pressure going, and his supporters would believe that he has the right to keep the pressure going because that was a promise made to him. And Akshita, remember, let's see other states where similar challenges have happened. And what happened in the case of Jyotiraditya Scindia? What happened in the case of, in Rajasthan, in the case of Sachin Pilot? What happened to Singhdev in Chhattisgarh? Singhdev's case is very close, where he too was promised the chief ministership and it didn't happen. And the party suffered a huge consequence because of that. So I think the high command of the party needs to stand up and take a call and not let, as I said earlier, let this drift continue. There is very clearly a sense of irritation on the face of the chief minister when responding to the question, which means there is tremendous pressure on him also. And saying that I'll present the next budget was very much an act to say, no, I'm very much there. But in the same breath, he says the high command will take a call. So very clearly, the two contenders are clearly saying it's the leadership which needs to take a call on this matter. and they have put the ball in their court.
You know, the buck stops with the High Command here, and the High Command has been MIA. They've refused to take a stand. They refused to do anything about this. But if you look at the current situation, I will just pull out a graphic right now of why Siddaramaiah right now holds the edge. Why is it that it looks unlikely that Siddaramaiah will really be replaced as the Chief Minister? Because he has a huge support base of the OBCs, and that's not going anywhere. The fact that he's a veteran leader, has electoral popularity, time-tested, and has ensured that he's passed all of those tests, that's something that also is weighing in the mind of the High Command, I'm sure. Has massive support of all the crucial voter blocks and strategic control also over the government machinery. Keep in mind the fact that even if you look at right now the MLAs within the Congress, most of them are with Siddaramaiah. The party high command also has preferred him, but there are the likes of Sonia Gandhi, who is known to also be very fond of DK Shiv Kumar. But the fact that Siddaramaiah also has been able to handle power tussles without leading it to any sort of massive rift within the Karnataka Congress is another aspect. And then there's the corruption Achilles heel for DK Shiv Kumar. Yes, Siddaramaiah has faced some allegations in the last few years, but nothing compared to really the legal cases that DK Shiv Kumar is having to go through right now. Dr. Shastri and Mr. Upadhyay, final words from both of you. Do you agree that Siddaramaiah right now has the edge? Mr. Upadhyay, to you first, that Siddaramaiah has the edge. There's no question right now of him being replaced, but what does that mean for DK Shiv Kumar?
No, I think, you see, DK Shiv Kumar represents the Vakaligas, and they're a very strong community. And after S.M. Krishna, there has not been a Congress Chief Minister. And he has a right to claim Chief Minister's post. Siddaramaiah might be representing the OBCs, but then the Vakaligas contributed very heavily for the 2023, the election victory for the Congress party. In fact, the JDS was reduced to 19 seats in this election, the lowest in 25 years. That happened because of the campaign Shiv Kumar carried on. And in the South Bangalore, the JDS was wiped out. So all these factors, really go in favor of Shiv Kumar, and then the Vakaligas will strongly put up their thing. And I'll tell you, in 2028 election, I think Shiv Kumar will play a major role if the Congress makes him the Chief Minister at that time. Because Siddaramaiah has already has a worn out look, and he has not been able to carry the government forward, except the guarantees. He has nothing else to show. And if the Congress has to come up with the new ideas and new leadership, I think this is time for them to bring Shiv Kumar ahead of, in this race.
One of the biggest questions that comes up, Dr. Shastri, will DK Shiv Kumar sit quiet if there's no change?
Now, your small visual earlier showed that it looked as if Siddaramaiah had the edge. But I think the advantage that Siddaramaiah has is that he's in power. That's the only edge which I think he has, already in power. But three factors quickly, Akshita. First, the dominant OBC leader accepted, but overwhelming OBC support, I think there is a question mark, because if that overwhelming OBC support was there, they should have romped home in 2018, because that's the slogan he had taken up at that point of time. He has the support of MLAs. I think at the end of the day, if the High Command indicates any change that they want, those same MLAs will then move over to what the High Command would want it to do. And as Ramakrishna said, ultimately, is the party looking at 2028 or not? Are you going into a 2028 with a chief minister who has said that this is his last election? Or are you going to put in place a leader who will lead you into the election in 2028?
Yeah.
These are the three imponderables that need to be considered.
Fair point. And at the end of the day, look, we can all continue a conjecture. And the reason there's room for that is because the High Command is completely silent, pin drop silence from them, even as you're seeing all of this talk, all of this infighting playing out rather publicly. There's optics on one hand, which the High Command must look into, because this doesn't look good for the Karnataka Congress. But secondly, also the optics for the High Command themselves, that they seem completely clueless. Either they're choosing to look the other way or are completely oblivious to what's happening. Either way, It's not good news for the Karnataka Congress. Thank you, Dr. Sandeep Shastri and R.K. Upadhyay, for joining us with your insights of what's really playing out right now in Karnataka. Next few days, if the High Command steps in, we'll perhaps get some clarity on who their pick is. Is it Siddaramaiah or D.K. Shivkumar? For now, it's Siddaramaiah who remains the Chief Minister. But let's move on. Another milestone in Bengaluru's Hall of Shame. Shubhanshu Shukla, our very own space boy, visited Bengaluru. And guess what? The traffic, as is always the case, was a nightmare. Shuks took it in his stride and joked about it.
So I've spent thrice that. I'm coming all the way from the other side of the Bangalore, Marathalli. So I've spent thrice the time that I'm going to be spending on this presentation with you. So you have to look at the commitment that I have.
He cracked a good one, but how embarrassing. As someone who's lived in Bengaluru, loved Bengaluru, honestly, I feel embarrassed that this is the image of the city right now. And then you had this response from Minister Priyank Kharge at the same event.
So I'll not take much time. I know everybody has to get back. Like Mr. Shubham Shukla said, it was easier for him to get from space to Bangalore, but from Marathalli to here was a little difficult. So we'll ensure that that doesn't happen again.
What does this show us? Let's face it, Bengaluru now has got the unenviable reputation of the worst roads, the worst traffic, essentially being an urban nightmare. If Shuks had gone for a spacewalk on the moon, he could have recreated that on the pothole-ridden roads of Bengaluru, because honestly, we've seen countless memes on that, and they all look so real. Unfortunately, let's get serious here. We hear this over and over and over again. We outrage, we demand answers, we move on till the next time we have to outrage, and then the cycle repeats. What's the only constant here? That governments come and go, but nothing changes. It's the same bad roads, it's the same traffic mess, and unfortunately, the same reputation that Bengaluru is stuck with. I'm slipping into a short break here on Super 6. On the other side, we'll get you details of the investigation into the Delhi teen's suicide. The school principal and 3 teachers have been suspended after the child in a suicide note spoke of being harassed by his teachers.
Motorola Edge 60 Pro, the true flagship killer.
सैल्यूट है जी, आप देश की रक्षा में जान लगा देते हैं और आप घर घर में तार लगाते हैं जी। ई बीम टेक्नोलॉजी से बनी, न जले न पिघले, सबकी रक्षा करे।
हम सरहद पर लोगों की रक्षा करते हैं और आप देश के अंदर। सैल्यूट तो बनता है जी।
अपार अणुशक्ति फायर प्रोटेक्ट वायर, अपार देश का तार।
Motorola Edge 60 Pro. Hello, Moto.
Motorola Edge 60 Pro, the true flagship killer.
Hi, here are the top headlines presented by Motorola. Eddie raids 42 locations targeting coal mafia in Jharkhand and West Bengal. Delhi government bans school outdoor activities amid worsening pollution. Shubman Gill ruled out of Guwahati test. Pant to lead Team India.
India Today, making sense of India. Subscribe now. Log on to subscriptions.intoday.in. Now available for speed delivery on Amazon and Blinkit.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com.
Welcome back. Let's get you the latest updates on the investigation into the Delhi 10/11 blast. Sources have told India Today that a Jaish module involved in the blast was trying to turn hospitals in Kashmir into large weapon storage centers. And this may sound familiar because it's actually similar to the way Hamas stored weapons in hospitals in Gaza. What we've also learned from our sources is that the Jaish module was getting regular technical support from Hamas. This comes after India Today exposed Jaish's air attacks plans, which was inspired by Hamas's triple-layer terror plot. Now, we also have a video showing the stock of explosive materials which was seized from the rented accommodation of the accused Muzammil in Faridabad. All of this was taken into custody by our agencies. That is the video there of the massive stash of explosives. We've learned through our sources that more than 36 suicide bombing videos were sent via an encrypted app to the accused Muzammil. Sources have also told us that it was Maulvi Irfan who had radicalized these doctors of terror and that he was linked directly with Jaish-e-Mohammed.
The day when Red Fort terror attack happened, that very morning, multi-state police forces and agencies, including the Jammu Kashmir police, had actually reached this particular village, Fatehpur Tagga, which is near to Dhauj, near to the Al-Falah University, barely 10 minutes away from the Al-Falah University. And in that multi-agency crackdown, what had happened is that this particular house of Imam Istiaq was zeroed down. And remember, it was another doctor from the associated with the Al-Falah University who was already arrested, and those links led the agencies to this particular house. First, we'll get you the visuals to give you an understanding as to how this entire operation was conducted by this white-collar terror module, so that nobody else gets an idea of possibly what could have been happening around them in this particular room, which was full with fertilizers. So on one screen you will see the visuals of those fertilizer packets and bags and sacks kept in this particular room. And in this particular room there was more than 2,500 kgs of ammonium nitrate, fertilizer and other raw materials which could have been actually used by the terror, this white collar terror module, to conduct several blasts like Red Fort blast that happened, that shook the country. With video journalist Emmanuel, this is Amit Bhardwaj reporting for India Today from Faridabad.
Let's get you the latest updates on the investigation into the heartbreaking suicide of a 16-year-old teenager in the national capital. Remember that in his suicide note, he mentioned that he was harassed by his teachers and that's why he took the extreme step. This prompted massive protests outside the school premises in Delhi, with the protesters demanding the resignation of the teachers who've as of now only been suspended. There's a growing demand for an independent panel to be set up that includes 3 principals from other schools as well. So far, the school authorities have suspended the headmaster and 3 teachers who were named in the FIR filed by the teenager's father and based on statements of those associated with the case. But the question that will be asked is, why a mere suspension in such a serious case? The police right now are maintaining that they're continuing their investigation into this particular case. The Delhi government has also stepped in, taking action following up with a 5-member panel being set up to probe the case in which the teen boy jumped off an elevated platform at a metro station.
I'm sorry for taking this step, but I was left with no choice, as I was compelled to do it by school authorities. If any organs in my body are found to be in a condition to donate after my death, Please do so for the needy. My parents did a lot of good things for my upliftment, but I could not keep them happy. Broke my parents' trust on multiple occasions. But sorry, Mom, this will be my last time. I also want to say sorry to my brother as I was rude to him. What can I do if my school teachers are harassing me? I want action to be taken against those teachers who harassed me. Don't want any other child to suffer like me. I want to say sorry to my brother again for abusing him and not giving him the respect he deserved. I also say sorry to Papa for disappointing him with my behavior. It is only Mother who has always supported me. I am sorry. I am sorry, but the school authorities have harassed me.
मैं केवल शिक्षा मंत्री के रूप में नहीं, एक पेरेंट के रूप में इस घटना को देखता हूं। मैं एक पत्र लिख रहा हूं। स्कूलों में सीबीएसई के मानकों के आधार पर किस प्रकार से जो मेंटल हेल्थ, मेंटल वेलबीइंग के लिए व्यवस्थाएं की जानी चाहिए, क्या वो सुचारू रूप से हो रही हैं? इसके संदर्भ में मैं स्कूलों को पूछ रहा हूं और कहीं स्कूलों को अगर जरूरत है तो हम उनकी हैंड होल्डिंग करेंगे, उनको मदद करेंगे। हमारी अगली पीढ़ी मानसिक रूप से स्वस्थ रहे, विषाद के में ना पड़े, इसकी हमें बहुत चिंता है। हम दिल्ली के पेरेंट्स की इस चिंता को शेयर करते हैं। हमने एक कमेटी भेजी है जो जांच करेगी, अपनी रिपोर्ट लाएगी। उसके पैरामीटर ये भी होंगे क्या मेंटल हेल्थ से संबंधित हर चीज का फॉलोअप किया जा रहा था, नहीं किया जा रहा था। अगर कुछ कमी है तो भविष्य में ना रहे, इसका भी ध्यान रखें।
That it is not a suicide, it is an institutional murder. The fact that 4 teachers have been involved in this entire incident is shocking, including a headmaster. The school has taken no responsibility. It is because of this protest that you have seen FIRs being launched against these teachers. Unfortunately, the school has only asked for a suspension, not a resignation. The education department of the Delhi government has set up a committee with 3 principals on it. We oppose these 3 principals being part of this committee. The committee needs to be reconstituted and a delegation will be meeting the education minister today on this issue.
प्रदीप जी, जिस स्कूल के हम बारे में बात करें, सेंट कोलंबस, वो दिल्ली का सबसे जाना माना स्कूल है। ऐसे में पूछना चाहूंगी कि कितना डिसअपॉइंटमेंट है। अच्छे स्कूलों में सेंट कोलंबस माना जाता है। आप क्या कहना चाहेंगे प्रशासन को, सरकार को?
मैम, हम जो पेरेंट्स है स्कूल का नाम देखे बच्चे डाल देते हैं। स्कूल से शाहरुख खान स्कूल से पढ़े हुए हैं।
जी जी।
तो इतना बड़ा स्कूल है और नामी स्कूल के नाम है, राहुल गांधी जी भी इस स्कूल से पढ़े हुए हैं। तो हम ये देखते कि स्कूल अच्छा होगा, लेकिन प्रशासन ने सिर्फ सस्पेंशन किया है, वो टेम्पररी किया है, रात को 9 बजे, वो भी हाई लेवल की कमेटी गठित होने के बाद। लेकिन पुलिस ने अभी तक कोई कार्रवाई नहीं करी। कल जब 2 बजे हमारी जो प्रोटेक्शन चल रहा था, 2 लोग अंदर मिलने गए थे, तभी भी प्रिंसिपल की ये वर्डिंग थी, इतनी घटिया वर्डिंग थी, आप सोच नहीं सकते। बोलते हैं कि ऐसा कोई भी लिखे नाम लिखे सुसाइड करेंगे तो हम कैसे सस्पेंड करेंगे उनको, हमें इन्वेस्टिगेशन करना पड़ेगा। तो जो गए थे वो लेडी ने बोला कि आपके बेटे को आप मार दो और मेरा नाम लिखो सुसाइड नोट में। इतनी हमने लैंग्वेज यूज करने के बाद भी उनको कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ा। जब कल रात को हाई लेवल की कमेटी गठित हुई तो इन्होंने कल सस्पेंशन किया है, लेकिन सस्पेंशन इनफ नहीं है। इनको अरेस्ट करना चाहिए और उनको कड़ी से कड़ी सजा करनी चाहिए।
आखिरी बार बच्चे से कब बात हुई थी और आपको कुछ भी लगा था कि वो डिस्ट्रेस्ड है, या आपको लग रहा था कि ये एक फेज है, खत्म हो जाएगा? क्या बातें हुई आखिरी बार जब बच्चे से बात हुई थी?
कोई डिप्रेशन का या टेंशन वाला कोई बात ही नहीं लगा था। मंडे को उसने खुद खाने की ऑर्डर बाहर से करी थी, सोया चाप उसका फेवरेट था, और वेनिला स्ट्रॉबेरी आइसक्रीम मंगाई थी और जूस वो भी हमने दोनों ने शेयर किया था। और बड़े जो उसने स्ट्रॉबेरी का मिल्कशेक और वेनिला का दोनों मंगाया था, स्ट्रॉबेरी उसको पसंद आया तो वेनिला उसने बड़े भाई को दे दिया और स्ट्रॉबेरी मेरे साथ शेयर किया था। रात की बात थी हमारी, और स्कूल बदलने की बात उसी टाइम हो गई थी। 12:30 बजे तक बच्चा तो हमारे साथ बातें कर रहा था। दूसरे दिन स्कूल में जाते रहे, मम्मी को बोल के गया कि मम्मी आज मेरे को ना शाम को, मतलब आफ्टरनून स्कूल आने के बाद लंच में बाहर से कुछ मंगा लेना।
Motorola Edge 60 Pro, the true flagship killer.
बिहार में सरकार बनी है, बिहार की जनता को धन्यवाद। नीतीश कुमार नरेंद्र मोदी पर भरोसा किया है और जितनी हमें वोट मिला है भारी बहुमत, उतनी जिम्मेदारी भी बढ़ी है। अब एक ही है, बिहार की जीत हमारी है, अगली बारी बंगाल की है।
नए प्रकार से मैंडेट लेने के बाद एनडीए ने अपनी सरकार नीतीश कुमार जी के नेतृत्व में माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी की मौजूदगी में हम सब अलग अलग राज्य के मंत्रिमंडल के मुखियाओं के नाते से हम सब साक्षी बने हैं और बिहार में इस बात की दरकार भी है कि विकास अपने नए परवान की तरफ बढ़े। मैं अपनी ओर से माननीय नीतीश कुमार जी को बधाई देता हूं। माननीय मुख्यमंत्री बिहार, उनके नेतृत्व में बिहार में बहुत संभावना है और मुझे भरोसा है कि बिहार माननीय प्रधानमंत्री के आशीर्वाद के बाद और तेज गति से आगे बढ़ेगा।
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com.
Motorola Edge 60 Pro, the true flagship killer.
A trail of blood and death extends from the Red Fort blast all the way to the Al Falah University at Delhi's doorsteps. The university, now at the heart of a suicide attack, white-collar terror module and money laundering investigations, is facing serious scrutiny. But Dr. Umar, the suspected suicide bomber who blew up with the Hyundai i20, is not the only terrorist linked to Al Falah. Mirza Shadab Beg, a notorious member of the Indian Mujahideen, also studied in the suspected terror hub. Beg, a resident of Azamgarh, completed his B.Tech in Electronics and Instrumentation at Al Falah University in 2007. He was likely a student when he first became involved in planning the 2008 serial blasts across India, including the Gorakhpur, Ahmedabad and Jaipur. He remains at large despite a massive manhunt. Al Falah University chairman Javed Ahmed Siddiqui is also under scanner after being arrested for money laundering. His three-story house in Madhya Pradesh's Mao has been declared illegal with demolition orders issued. The links to terrorist activities have cast a dark shadow over Al Falah. Over 200 doctors and staff are under investigation. Hostels and off-campus rooms rented by doctors and students have been raided and deleted mobile data is under scanner. More than 1,000 have already been questioned. As investigations continue, more questions are being raised about Al Falah's role in fostering a terror ecosystem. With Arvind Ojha and Shayad Chatterjee, Bureau Report, India Today.
Motorola Edge 60 Pro, the true flagship killer.
पिछले 2 साल से कर्नाटका में गवर्नेंस की जी भी वहां देखने में नहीं मिल रहा है। रोज सीएम और डीसीएम के बीच में जो फैक्शनल फाइट हो रहा है वो इस हद तक चला है कि विधानसभा में अभी 15-20 दिन पहले सुनने में आ रहा था कि जो अधिकारी है जो इस दोनों कैंप में जुड़े हैं, डिवाइडेड है, वो हाथ हाथ मिला रहे थे। ये कर्नाटक की गवर्नेंस की स्थिति है कांग्रेस पार्टी के अंदर। जो भी निर्णय कांग्रेस पार्टी ले, सीएम चेंज करना नहीं करना, इससे कर्नाटक की जनता को किसी प्रकार से लाभ नहीं होगा। कर्नाटका इज सफरिंग बिकॉज ऑफ दिस बैड गवर्नेंस। इस सरकार को कर्नाटक की जनता उखाड़ कर फेंकेगी।
No, I don't see much into that. I think there must be some indication that a new president will be done. So he's already completed 5 years. So he might be hinted that you have to give way for the new president. That's why he is trying to make it as if it's a very big sacrifice. So whenever the DK Shivakumar group talks about change of guard, the Siddaramaiah group will start questioning the change of KPC leadership. So this thing is going on for a long time.
Hi, I'm Sana. Here's your weather update. Delhi maximum 27 and minimum 14 degrees. Mumbai maximum 33 and minimum 22 degrees. Kolkata maximum 29 and minimum 19 degrees. Bengaluru maximum 25 and minimum 20 degrees. Chennai maximum 31 and minimum 24 degrees. Hyderabad maximum 28 and minimum 16 degrees.
Powered by Seat Cross-Drive, grip you can trust.
The biggest insurance for women is to save your eggs. Because then you can choose when to get married, when you want to have kids.
It began with one video, Upasana Konidela speaking publicly about freezing her eggs, a choice she says gave her control and eased societal pressure.
The biggest insurance for women is to save your eggs. Because then you can choose when to get married, when you want to have kids, on your own terms when you are financially independent.
But the moment she put that choice online, it sparked a loud conversation. Is egg freezing empowerment or just another burden for women? Freezing eggs is not a simple decision, and it's certainly not cheap. In India, a full cycle costs anywhere between 1,20,000 to 2,50,000 rupees per cycle. Egg retrieval alone costs 40 to 80,000 rupees. Freezing and vitrification cost another 25 to 50,000. And then there's the annual storage fee of 15 to 50,000. A choice that promises future freedom comes with a present-day financial weight. However, more and more women are choosing IVF in India. Approximately 2 to 2.5 lakh IVF cycles are performed annually in India, with projections indicating a rise to 5 to 6 lakh by 2030. Zoho founder Sridhar Vembu responded to Upasna's post saying entrepreneurs should consider marriage and parenthood in their 20s and fulfill their demographic duty to society and ancestors. His comment immediately divided the internet. Some agreed and many pushed back, calling it simplistic and tone-deaf to the challenges women face. His comments come at a time when India's fertility rate has dipped below the replacement rate of 2.0. The debate isn't just in India. An Oxford researcher faced a flood of misogynistic comments when she celebrated earning her doctorate, highlighting a global tension between ambition and motherhood. As the debate intensifies, the dilemma deepens, because every argument in favor of delaying motherhood meets an equally forceful argument against it. Time-bound biological realities push women to plan early. But many experts say that there are options to beat the biological clock. Peak fertility and career peaks rarely align. But others argue it's the external pressure to have kids that forces panic. Career structures still punish caregiving. But critics say that real fix is men sharing caregiving duties. An always-on work culture makes motherhood even harder. But evolving workplaces are becoming more flexible than before. Egg freezing offers hope, but technology is rapidly expanding reproductive options. And while delayed parenthood can reshape life choices, many believe culture should not dictate life choices. Across India and the world, more women are choosing motherhood later in life, often with medical assistance. Celebrity stars like Kareena Kapoor Khan, Neha Dhupia, Shilpa Shetty, Hilary Swank, Cameron Diaz became mothers well into their late 30s and even early 40s. For many women today, having children later isn't a compromise, it's a choice.
The biggest insurance for women.
The truth sits somewhere between freedom and fear, between biology and ambition, between what women want and what society expects of them. Upasna's video did not just start a conversation. It exposed a dilemma nearly every modern woman quietly navigates. How to build a future without letting go of the family she may want someday. Bureau Report, India Today.
So one innocuous tweet by Upasna has landed her in a sexist storm, but also ignited an age-old long debate where it comes to that feared word where it concerns women, ambition and their biological clock, which is of course inversely proportional. Having said that, career-oriented women often face a very painful decision between ambition and biology, navigating a now or never pressure that can make every choice feel high stakes. As careers peak during the same years, fertility declines. Many wrestle with whether to accelerate family plans, freeze their eggs, as Upasna had suggested to the many girls that she had met at that college. Freeze eggs as a hedge, or opt out of parenthood altogether is another option that women actually face and deal with. Each path carries emotional, financial and social weight, leaving women to balance personal fulfillment with what is very heavy in India, societal expectations, while wondering which trade-off their future self will thank them for. All of this has once again been brought in sharp focus after that one particular tweet by Upasana where she met a group of college kids and was a little surprised where she saw when she asked how many of them wanted to get married, start a family, were more boys than girls. And then she also suggested, freeze your eggs, give yourself that freedom. But what happened was, lo and behold, like I said, she found herself bang in the middle of a misogynistic storm with even coining of new words like demographic duty. I don't quite know what that means, but let's take it to our panel this evening. Joining me, Tara Deshpande, author, actor. Rahul Ishwar, social activist and author, will be with us shortly. Adwaita Kala, screenwriter and author. Poonam Mutreja, executive director, Population Foundation of India. Dr. Archana Dhawan Bajaj, gynecologist and IVF expert, director, Nurture Clinic. Tara Deshpande, you know, like I said, one particular tweet where Upasana herself came out and said that she's very, very glad that at least she's started a very healthy debate. I don't know how healthy it is, but we've seen, you know, once again, words which I wasn't really very familiar with, that women need to perform a demographic duty of sorts where the onus of reproduction, progeny, lies on them.
This debate has several angles. One is, of course, the demographic one. Then there's the biological one. Then there's the economic one. So from a biological point of view, yes, women will have natural pregnancies and have more energy to raise kids in their 20s versus their 40s. Now, as far as demography goes, we have fallen below the replacement rate of 2.1. We're now at a national average of 1.9. But this is a bit deceptive because the state averages, on the other hand, are very different. You have several states where the birth rate is much higher, like Bihar, for instance, is 3. Uttarakhand, I believe, is 2.9. Maharashtra is 2.7. So I think you don't look at the national average alone. You look at it state-wise. You will also notice that there is a correlation in many cases between the more women are empowered in a particular state, the better their quality of life is in a state, the lower the birth rate tends to be. But I think at this point, because we have a generational surplus, we have one of the youngest, but not the youngest, populations in the world. I think for the next 20 years or so, I don't think we have to really be concerned about having more young people. I think what we really need to be concerned about are two things. One is we have a serious problem providing people with jobs. And those who are lucky to have jobs today, they are underemployed or underpaid. We also have the doomsday of AI looming, where it is being stated that 20 to 30% of people in various professions are going to lose their jobs. So I don't think from an economic perspective, producing more young people who are going to then enter the workforce and there are going to be no jobs for them is a particularly great idea at this point. But empowering women, if we want to get into the club of the top 3, top 4 economies of the world, which seems to be what our ruling party is gunning for right now, empowering women is one of the best investments that anyone can make. I think rather than them pushing out babies for the next 15 years or so, pushing out entrepreneurial ideas, pushing out career objectives, you know, in India, 15% of the capital in this country really belongs loosely to women. Do you realize how skewered that is? Men own more than 85% of capital in this country. If you want a society that is going to function in the long game, you have to give women more power, you have to give them more time. And it's sad, in fact, that women have to freeze their eggs rather than getting support from the work environments that they're in, support from their in-laws, support from their parents and friends, so that they can have children at the right time and yet not be punished in their careers for doing so. So I think the holistic approach is required for this. I don't think anyone is wrong, but I think just having, you know, a parochial view is not going to help anyone. I think we have to look at the numbers, look at the current situation, and then ask women what they want, because I think women have to decide.
You know, it's a spirited argument, Tara, that you really make. And, you know, to me, as a woman who is mid-career, you know, it comes down to one thing which many fear in India, and that's agency. Words like feminism scare people, and when you talk about misogyny, you're immediately bracketed as a feminist, and where agency of women comes into question, I think that is the number one factor which bothers me, where others decide to dictate to you whether you need to contribute to the demographic dividend of this country, or you know, this is your demographic duty. You know, for me, that's number one. But there is a concern because Poonam Mutreja, the fertility rate has only been falling where India is concerned. So that demographic duty, when it really does come down, it reflects in the birth rate. But strangely, why should the onus just lie on women just because they can actually physically reproduce?
So I totally agree with you. Can't disagree with that. But I do want to say that we don't need to worry. Fertility is declining in India, but fertility will continue to grow because we have a very young population. We have 365 million people below the age 24, who many of them are or will be in a reproductive stage or age when we will continue to have babies. And even if we have minus growth rates like Russia and many other countries, no leader, political, social, or corporate, has the authority to tell young people, women and girls, when they should marry, when they should have children. These are deeply personal decisions shaped by individuals' aspirations, family aspirations, economic circumstances, health, the mental well-being and health of the woman at a stage. Does she have anemia? 60% of women have anemia, and their relationships with their partners. And reproductive choices must remain entirely voluntary, and they are, Preeti. I'm very proud that in India today, for a long time, we have no coercion, we do not have dictation by government or government programs, which we did earlier. We had fertility control and all these things. We should be very proud that India has stabilized its population without any coercion. And the state, there is coercion where it comes to social norms and so on, but not by the government and the public. So statements urging young people to marry early and have children in their 20s reduce women to instruments of demographic goals. They overlook women's not only autonomy, but their educational and professional aspirations. What is 20? It's a very young age. And the economic and social realities that influence when they choose to have children. But the main point that I do want to make is that, women would find it easier to have children and careers if the men participated in supporting the woman equally in child rearing, child caring, household work. The entire burden falls on women, and at the same time, the state, making not just pregnancy leave available, but leave for childcare for both men and women, as many countries like Denmark, Germany, and several other countries. Germany uses demographic data for evidence-based resource allocation. Denmark supports women with not incentives, but financial support. And women are able to go back to the careers. And finally, the threat that if I go to have children and take time off, I am not going to be welcomed back or get into the position that I was. Till society begins to treat this achievement, biological advantage that women have as something to be supportive of, and not leave the entire burden on women. Above all, women must be viewed as not tools for achieving demographic or political goals. India's progress depends on protecting women's rights, choices, and freedom, not restricting them under the guise of demographic concerns.
Ms. Mutreja, you make a fair point, and I would actually look at it from a perspective where why just 20s, even in 40s? If women choose not to have children, choose to have kids in their 40s, why not? Because there needs to be, it's their choice, and ultimately that's where the buck stops. I want to bring in Adwaita Kala into this conversation as we also welcome Rahul Ishwar into this debate. Adwaita Kala, the fact is there is already so much stuff we don't really talk about. There's this whole emotional pressure emotional angle where women themselves beat themselves over of whether they should have children, not have children, choose career, how will they be viewed in terms of in the cultural, societal context. There's enough going on there, and the whole emotional quotient of this debate often gets overlooked, where you divide women in terms of, their age demographic, or 20s, 30s, oh Lord, why is she having children in her 40s? Well, she wouldn't be able to care for them enough. There's, that battle in any case plays out in a woman's head, and only gets amplified where in the cultural and societal context. Ma'am, you're in mute.
Yeah, sorry about that. Preeti, as someone who's never been married and never had a child, I'm definitely an outlier as far as the sociological aspect of this is concerned. And you're absolutely right. I mean, there is a lot of have you missed the boat sort of things that come your way every once in a while. And so what? Okay, maybe it's not the boat I was waiting for at the dock. Maybe it's another boat I'm waiting for. So I mean, I don't really care, and I do recognize that's a privilege not to care the way I do. But for a lot of women, what I find so problematic about this conversation is that you just limit women to their bodies.
True.
And how their bodies can serve a collective goal. Now, that's not what being a woman is about. We are more than our biology. We are much more than that. And the fact that you think that our role and our contribution to nation building is limited to procreation, I find deeply offensive and objectionable. Every woman who walks this earth or walks in this country does not necessarily have to be a mother. Being a mother is an entirely different experience. And it doesn't just stop at bearing the child. It continues on till the kid is, I guess, alive. I mean, a lot of people, I see the relationships that people have, adult children have with their parents, is still one of nurture and caring and caregiving. So being a caregiver is also a huge role. Now, not every individual, be it man or woman, is capable of being that kind of nurturer and caregiver. And we have to accept that spectrum of emotions and relationships in both genders. There may be men who are not not geared to be fathers. It's completely natural. The worst possible thing you can do is have a child and not be emotionally ready to handle it or financially ready to handle it, but just go ahead and just procreate, because that's what you should do. I think it's a very dangerous, slippery slope to get into.
But, you're bang on. And, just on a lighter note, because I do see it, generationally, women are thinking different, changing very quickly. I come from a generation where, most of my friends, including me, have actually gone the route of freezing our eggs. It can be a hedge. It might not be 100%, but we've gone that route, just in case we want to, make, room if we ever want to have children. So there is at least, a bank there. You don't know if it's going to really work, but somewhere down the line you just feel better about going about your business. But I love the fact that I have a niece who's really young, in her early 20s, and if somebody asks her, if my mother asks her something, the immediate answer is MYOB, which I love, because I think ultimately it is mind your own business. So and I think that's what one really needs to look at. But I want to bring in Dr. Archana Dhawan, because we're talking about freezing of eggs. Upasana herself said in that tweet that women should have that opportunity, and it is a privilege, Dr. Archana, for somebody who's been through that process. And I advocate to every young girl, who's looking at a long career, that if you might not want to have a child today, but if you want to have a child ever in the future, go ahead, at least just freeze your eggs. But it's not easy. It takes an emotional toll. There are multiple injections involved. I know I've gone through that process. And it's not a short guarantee that they'll actually, you'd be able, to have a progeny from the eggs that you freeze. And sometimes it's multiple cycles to even get that bank that you can bank on.
Absolutely. I've been listening with a lot of pride to what the people who spoke before me had to say, and it makes me feel that women in our country are getting emancipated, and how. Of course, as a healthcare provider, it is for me to advocate to some extent to women that this is the right age, this is the right body time, the body clock, the body type, etc., etc. But saying that, at no point would I want anybody to take away the freedom of taking the decision from Me, for example, I got married at 22, had a child at 23. I'm a grandmother of 2 children at 56. But at the same time, I had amazing support from the family, from my partner, and I'm at the top of my career. Most of us do get this privilege, but some of us don't. And the decision whether to actually go down the baby route or not finally lies with the lady A. So that's something to figure out. But saying that, medically you cannot take away the fact that there is a right time, there is a reasonable egg quality, there is a biological clock which is ticking. The minute you cross 35, there is a decline in the egg number, there is a decline in the egg quality, there is a higher chance of having chromosomal abnormalities in the baby. And of course, the minute you cross 40, it could also take a toll on your own body. Of course, saying that, there would be several people who are amazingly fit who will do so well as parents at 55, but then it's not just about having a child, it's also about bringing up the child. And as someone before me pointed out so correctly, it's not just procreating, creating a baby and then, to each his own. I'm 56, trust me, I am still involved with my children, I'm involved with my grandchildren. It's an ongoing process, and it's a process I would want to respect. So saying all of this, of course, the biological clock has to be respected. Offering egg freezing is not a bad option. It has its downsides, which have to be counseled adequately. It has its amazing upside that even at 50, of course, the legal limit is 50. In your late 40s, if you do want to have biologically your own child, you have this bank, which, as you very rightly pointed out, may work sometimes, may not work other times, but at least that option exists. If this is not offered, not explained, not discussed, the option, it's a shut and close. Either you don't have a baby or you go for gamete donation or whatever way. But seeing that, it's wise to offer, but not at the cost of your liberation, not at the cost of, want for not wanting to do it entirely. I mean, for somebody who doesn't want to get married, doesn't want to have a partner, may not want to have a child out of a so-called a marriage situation, is perfectly all right. As you said, the demography hasn't come crashing. Fertility rates are declining, but then that's because people are more educated to decide that they want to have an X number of children, have an X number of children at the right time also. Of course, there are states like Kashmir where fertility rates are declining because for some amazing reason, women want to get a government job before they actually get down to getting married. So which is the kind of pressure that I would not want at least my daughter to be a part of. So the decision, the time, the mode, the way forward has to be the female's choice. And even if it's at the cost of sounding radical, it's at the cost of sounding extremely feminist, but that is the way I am, and that is the way I would want others to respect.
Fair point. And there is Doctor, also a flip side to it, which one needs to accept. If you're going to have kids in your mid-40s, then you're going to be that much older. And, in terms of caregiving, those need to be factored in. But I also know, having said that, many women who've chosen to have children in their mid-40s and are actually great caregivers because, they're able to nurture their children better, they're financially all there, and it's a decision that they've made of their own volition. And very rarely does that actually happen, where family planning, a term that we use so often. I want to, very gingerly go across to Rahul Ishwar, because Rahul Ishwar has been holding his head, and why do I fear? He has a very contrarian view, because Rahul Ishwar is not, many suggest it's an India problem. It really is not an India problem. This is an international problem. We've seen this conversation come up, and in America, especially after Trump, it's a cycle that it's taken. It's not an Indian context. Sometimes maybe in India we are more judgmental where the society is concerned, but it's an international problem which women face across, where the pressure of adding to the demography is concerned, as they are the sole bearers of that cause.
Two submissions, ma'am. First, family is the basic unit of society, and without family, there is no future for mankind. And second, there is an honest ideological debate regarding this. Why we should be open about this. There is a liberal versus conservative. There is a progressive versus cultural debate going on with this. And even she has rightly mentioned this is the progressive India, which I don't agree with. Progressive doesn't mean anti-family.
Rahul, can I'm sorry, I'm going to give you a lot of time to put your point forward, but we're just going to explain what we are seeing on the split screen of our television. What happened, it's very, sometimes things just happen in cycles. What happened with Upasana, and you had this CEO who quote-tweeted Upasana's tweet where she actually propagated to young women that freeze your eggs, focus on your career, suggesting that what about adding to, doing your demographic duty. 10 days before that, there was this young girl, and let's get those, that story out, called Juliet. And this young girl had just finished her PhD. She's about, 28, 29-year-old. And she put forth that, just done my PhD, extremely happy. And then an influencer quote-tweeted, practically saying that, how the degree looks on her, no man will ever, be interested in her. And that tweet blew up. It's got 1 million views. I think it's got multiple people reacting. Many were triggered by the response. And that, of course, a week later playing out in India. But go ahead, Rahul, make your point.
Yeah, just two submissions. There is an honest ideological divide. We can call it right versus left, or you can call it conservative versus liberal, or cultural versus progressive. This has been a healthy debate, and Sridhar Vempum sir should be applauded for sparking that debate. It has been a very healthy debate. Both sides were very civil, and this has been a very genuine, honest debate. Let me put forward two submissions for it. World over, WHO and the other organizations accept that replacement level fertility rate needs to be 2.1. So it would be ideal for people to have not late marriages. It shouldn't be too early marriages, but somewhere around their mid-20s, if they can marry, they can have the energy, they can have the life, they can have, it will be a well-settled life for them. And I agree more with Sridhar Bambu, because we all Indians value our family in a much more meaningful way. And look at many spaces around the world, including South Korea, where the fertility rate is 0.88. Somewhere Japan is around 1.1. That's the reason why world over, right-leaning people, including Elon Musk, keeps on saying that South Korea will be vanishing from the face of the earth. Japan is going to have a demographic crisis. Please understand, 20, 30 years back, we had an issue of overpopulation. Right now, we are going into a space where we are going to have underpopulation. When we were studying in school, we were taught that population is a liability. But right now, we understand demographic dividend is our strength. That doesn't mean a person should have 5 to 8 to 10 kids like our grandfathers used to have. We need to have optimum population, and that optimum population is not only for community and society, but also for that individual, their care, their life. So a person like Upasana, who we all adore, comes from a great family. They should be giving examples or setting models. It's very, very welcoming that she wants to have kids, that family kind of structure she adores. But it would be, normal people, it would be better for them if they can have it in their 20s, so that they can spend their energy positively. And various studies across the world, including Harvard Grant Study, rightly mentioned that human life is about meaningful relationship. The happiness and health of an individual depends to a great extent on the harmonious relationships we have. So family is a basic unit of society. The right or the right-leaning cultural view emphasizes on the family, whereas the left liberal position emphasizes more on the individual. So I think I agree, or I lean more to Sridhar Vembu's point, where individual needs to have a great family, great career, and a great society, and a person can have it all. It is not that the female has to sacrifice the family for the career or their own personal life or family. There can be a balance. There can be a beautiful synergy, and many people have done that, including my family, my wife. We have 2 kids. She's a corporate woman. She has been working in the corporate for the past 20 years. You can balance. Of course, the family support needs to be there. Social support needs to be there. But let us inspire our new generation of youngsters. Whereas Upasana ji was telling, this is the progressive India, saying that less and less females want to get married. I would humbly urge Upasana ji and people who think like her not to give that kind of a negative message. Whereas if you are saying you are being anti-family, you are branded progressive. I think that is not a right message to give our youngsters.
Negativity is also very subjective, Rahul Ishwar. And I can't really, I had to just look at all the 4 faces on your on the same panel, everyone, all of these four women had a very subtle smile on their face. Each one of them has something to say. What is ideal? It's not ideal to have a drink or a glass of wine in the evening. There are people who do. It's not ideal to reach out for, for that cigarette. Many people do. It's not ideal to breathe the air that we are breathing right now in the national capital, but we do. Idealism is something I think we really shouldn't subscribe, but I'm not the one. I want to, cut across to our panel. Poonam Mutreja had a point where you were talking about the following, the demographic dividend that we enjoy and we need to bolster on. And, it's not progressive to think that women should stave off at least having children till the time she decides to have them, or to look at having children later in life as an option she can exercise. I believe that's what you tried to say. But Poonam Mutreja, you wanted to come in. Go ahead, ma'am.
Yeah, first of all, we've had this wonderful debate today and discussions. I think to bring ideology into it and labeling is really unfortunate. Saying that, you're pro-family or you're anti-family and so you're liberal, all of this is really not necessary, because let's also face that fertility patterns cannot be changed through public exhortations. Demographic transitions unfold slowly over decades. Asking young people to marry early will have no meaningful impact, let me tell Mr. Rahul Ishwaran. With data back from globally and Indian data, and the meaningful impact on India's demographic trajectory, fertility rates, or workforce trends, nothing will happen with these either labeling or discourses. Now, the demographic dividend. India still has a window of opportunity for another 20, 25 years, depending on which state you are, to benefit from the demographic dividend economically, as well as, I assure Mr. Ishwaran, there are going to be many more babies born because we have a young population. You came late, but I'm sure you know this in any case. Instead of this labeling and saying India needs a demographic, India will have a demographic dividend because it has people, but the window of opportunity is small. And we've done very little to educate, to skill, and to create jobs. Look at unemployment, which is one of the reasons a lot of young people are choosing not to have children either early or have children late or not have children at all. So demographic transitions you must understand before you make it into a debate of this kind. And young people delay marriage and parenthood for very real reasons: rising unemployment, economic insecurity, the high cost of childcare and workplace that disproportionately penalizes women. So let's address those issues instead of anti-pro and saying women are responsible for keeping the family progeny growing. And I am sorry, I will not be called an anti-family person, and I don't wish for anybody on this panel to be called that.
I want to bring in Advaita. Advaita, is this an ideological divide there? Because a lot has been made of that as well. We've seen an entire campaign in America run at the back of it. Rahul Ishwar himself said that a lot of right-thinking people, right in the terms of this tilt, today are propagating this. You had an Elon Musk, you have that whole culture, social media trends of stay-at-home moms, wives that take great pride. Some of them are influencers. That trend also now catching where India comes into question. Stay at home, focus on family. Yeah, trad wives, exactly. So focus on your family.
You have individual choice.
Right. That's great. But it's not an individual's choice so much, Poonam. It's also trying to propagate a culture which is you're making the wrong choice if you've chosen a career. But Advaita, over to you.
Well, in the US, it went to the other extreme. Now they have a majority of single-parent homes led by women. So, they're women. So they went to the other extreme. Everything that happens in society is usually a reaction. So the trad wife movement in the US is sort of a reaction to the kind of feminism that they had, which led them into this sort of situation. Although I think it's incorrect to blame feminism on it. We come from that sort of traditional unit anyway. Like that's what most of us have seen in our own homes, the the two-parent home and things like that. But society here is changing as well. From the joint family, we moved into the nuclear family, which has increased the pressure on people when it comes to caregiving and when it comes to children. If you and your husband are at work, who looks after that kid? Are you going to go to the 80s of the US and have latchkey kids, who let themselves in to the home and turn on the TV and pop food into the microwave and heat it up and eat it? And that's really, TV is basically rearing them because you've got to work, because you've got bills to pay. So these are all very real issues that young people face in our country and across the world. And it's very simple to say, oh, go ahead, have more children, procreate. But it doesn't stop there. I reiterate that. And as for the ideological bent, I think, if you once you have a child, once you have your own family unit, assuming the parents stay together, because that's also becoming an issue now with the divorce rates, assuming that they stay together and you have a family unit, doesn't that also make you a little more insular? And isn't part of the whole Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam essence really to reach out there and expand your definition of what it means to be a family? So, it goes both ways.
Tara Deshpande, final comments.
I do understand that trying to maintain a part of a tradition that has really worked for this country. India is known to be a country that has a very strong family system, and it's really served us very well. So I can understand how important it is to preserve that advantage over, say, what's happening in the United States, where the divorce rates are over 50%. But one of the problems is this. Now, Elon Musk can wax eloquent about having children because he can afford to have a child in every country in this world. He's so rich. But for most people today, are barely able to survive even with two incomes to run a household. So to make this narrative that women are choosing their careers over family is really inappropriate and incorrect. Sometimes they have no choice but to work because you need the income. So I think one of the things we need to do is we need to give women time to empower themselves, corner more of the capital in this world. We need more jobs out in the market. We need jobs that are better paying. Then maybe one day it will be possible for us to go back to somewhere only one man earned and the woman stayed at home. The other concept is that the concept of family itself is also changing. What family means today has really changed, and we need to understand that trend. Today, two men can marry and have a family and have children. Two women can marry and have a family and have children. So we have to keep their goals and their approach to things in mind as well. And in the good old days, people had more children because infant mortality was so high. My great-grandmother had 11 children and only one survived. And I come from a reasonably well-off family. And this was very common in the 50s and the 60s, where people were dying left, right, and center of everything from typhoid to typhus. So that infant mortality has fallen dramatically. So people feel less of a need to have children. And we cannot deny the fact that there is a direct correlation between women's empowerment, between a better quality of life, more wealth and prosperity, and lower birth rates. This is seen all over the world. But yes, in a country like Japan today, it has become a problem. But then again, Japan is a very different society in many ways from, say, other societies. Now, South Korea, for instance, is a very expensive place to live. You can't survive on one income. So what are women supposed to do then? They have to go out and work. Taiwan, for instance, now is one of those populations that has more women than men. And many, many women choose to remain unmarried. They choose to work well into their 40s before having children. But their happiness index and their quotient is really very high. It's a very balanced society. So I really think that we should not be looking, just as I said earlier, at national averages. We should look at state averages because that gives you a better picture of what's really going on.
I also actually... Tara, I also actually believe that, instead of just looking at excuses to, to identify and make people understand on why women are having kids later and finding excuses for that, we need to normalize that it is okay if a woman decides to choose not having children over her career. That she decides to choose a career over not wanting to have a child.
But there are pros and cons to that also,
and those pros and cons need to be explained, because most men are not given, are not looked at in the form that, oh, okay, he didn't have a child because he was working very hard and he didn't have the kind of money.
Yes, but you have that freedom. But now when a man is 75-year-old, recently a very famous actor had a child at 80 and the internet blew up saying, oh, by the time this child is 20, this man is going to be
My limited point, Tara, is just that. My limited point is just that as a society, we need to normalize it instead of castigating women who choose not to have children over a career. It needs to be a very normal way of life instead of judging, because I think that is a word that is, in India, especially in that context, is something that we discuss even in television studios. Oh, she did not have children is because she didn't have the money. No, she just didn't feel like it. She didn't want to. It wasn't an option she wanted to exercise. But I want to get in Dr. Archana Dhawan Bajaj, the gynecologist and the IVF expert that we have on the show, to give her the last word, who want to have children, Dr. Archana Dhawan, or who want to, keep it as a possibility. The whole process of egg freezing, especially if you want enough in the bank, this is not just one procedure, there are multiple procedures involved, and is frightfully expensive for someone who really, or a woman who is young and who wants to exercise that option. How do you make that viable? How do you, for a young woman in her late 20s, in her 30s, wants to hedge on freezing her eggs, how do we bring that cost down? Do you think it's even possible?
Well, to quite an extent, if you were to look at this rationally, an average egg freezing cycle would possibly be, an expense of a couple of lakhs in the initial go, and then a very small cost for an annual maintenance. Now, for most women who are freezing eggs are the niche category, who have a good job, who have a potential to advance in their careers, who would actually want to opt for this. Saying that, of course, there will be some who would be still struggling, and wherein, as a healthcare provider, I would do in my best where I can, but the government also needs to have some bit of legislation to help such kids out, and also some bit of possibly getting this covered through an insurance program where, of course, there's rationality. You just get up for one fine morning and decide for no apparent reason to go ahead for an egg freezing is something which obviously has to be deplored. But a wise selection, who really needs it? There would be some who would have abundance of eggs even at the age of 35, but there would be some who are potentially the lot who will need egg freezing, and these are the women who should have like a clear-cut definition. A needs it, B doesn't need it. A is a good candidate, B isn't.
Fair point.
And of course, the role of medical insurance here might be very useful.
I'm running out of time. Right, I'm terribly running out of time, and this is something that we're going to delve into deeper. We're going to have a larger, longer, debate on this. Adwaita, I know you
very quickly.
Yes,
very quickly, Preeti. Egg freezing is not an easy process. I mean, people make it sound like it's the easy alternative, but it's painful. It's long.
Adwaita, you're preaching to the choir.
It's not.
I know, I've been through it, I know. So it's not an easy process, it's painful, it's long, and it's not 100%, it's not that you have a guarantee in the bank, that you have a check that you will cash.
I wouldn't have you making it sound so bad.
But it wasn't so bad. To be honest, Adwaita, it's not so bad. A lot of women feel that it's terrible, too many injections, it's okay, it's dealable.
Yes.
Women go through much worse.
In good medical hands, it actually may not be as much as a nightmare as it looks.
I agree, ma'am. Dr. Archana, I do agree, because I think it wasn't so bad. But Rahul Ishwar, I know you've just gotten one intervention. You have 10 seconds, sir. Make the most of it.
Yeah, I come from a state of Kerala where we have dipped below the replacement level fertility rate. All we are saying is there should be a balance. Okay. And please remember that balance should be protecting females' freedom and family as a system too. So let us try for that balance and synergy.
All right, let's try for that balance and synergy. That balance and synergy and that equity hasn't really come where gender is concerned right now. Let's work on that first, and then we can come down to the reproductive part of it. But thank you. I really appreciate all of you for taking the time out. Thank you for joining us. This does warrant a longer debate, a deeper conversation, and we're going to try and have that next. Thank you.
Motorola Motorola Edge 60 Pro, the true flagship killer.
पैसा लगाना है तो सेंचुरी क्लब प्राइम पे लगाओ। डूबेगा नहीं, जलेगा भी नहीं, कोई खा नहीं जाएगा, धोखा नहीं देगा, ऊपर नीचे भी नहीं होगा, सेफ रहेगा, सिक्योर्ड, मिनिमम 30 साल का रिटर्न देगा। अब इससे बेटर इन्वेस्टमेंट है तो बताओ। सेंचुरी क्लब प्राइम, रहो बेफिक्र।
सैल्यूट है जी, आप देश की रक्षा में जान लगा देते हैं।
और आप
घर घर में तार लगाते हैं जी। ई बीम टेक्नोलॉजी से बनी, न जले न पिघले, सबकी रक्षा करे।
हम सरहद पर लोगों की रक्षा करते हैं और आप देश के अंदर। सैल्यूट तो बनता है जी।
अपार अणुशक्ति फायर प्रोटेक्ट वायर, अपार देश का तार।
अरे वाह, तू भी ये ट्रेडिंग ऐप यूज करती है? हाँ, क्योंकि इसमें गारंटीड रिटर्न्स है ना। गारंटीड रिटर्न्स? तेरी ट्रेडिंग ऐप ऑथेंटिक तो है ना? अर्ज किया है, पहले गारंटीड और हाई रिटर्न्स का भरोसा ये दिलाते हैं, फिर फेक ऐप डाउनलोड करा के अपने झांसे में फंसाते हैं। सेबी और एनएससी का कहना है, सेबी इन्वेस्टर साइट पर वेरीफाइड एप्स की लिस्ट से ही ऐप डाउनलोड करें। एन इन्वेस्टर अवेयरनेस इनिशिएटिव बाय सेबी एंड एनएससी।
Long night?
You have no idea.
I got you.
Motorola Edge 60 Pro.
Hello, Moto.
सर टिकट
इंडिया टुडे के ग्रॉस डोमेस्टिक बिहेवियर सर्वे के बारे में और जानने के लिए लॉग इन करें gdb.indiatoday.in। पावर्ड बाय अडानी।
Motorola Edge 60 Pro, the true flagship killer.
पैसा लगाना है तो सेंचुरी क्लब प्राइम पे लगाओ। डूबेगा नहीं, जलेगा भी नहीं, कोई खा नहीं जाएगा, धोखा नहीं देगा, ऊपर नीचे भी नहीं होगा, सेफ रहेगा, सिक्योर्ड, मिनिमम 30 साल का रिटर्न देगा। अब इससे बेटर इन्वेस्टमेंट है तो बताओ। सेंचुरी क्लब प्राइम, रहो बेफिक्र।
अरे वाह, तू भी ये ट्रेडिंग ऐप यूज करती है? हाँ, क्योंकि इसमें गारंटीड रिटर्न्स है ना। गारंटीड रिटर्न्स? तेरी ट्रेडिंग ऐप ऑथेंटिक तो है ना? अर्ज किया है, पहले गारंटीड और हाई रिटर्न्स का भरोसा ये दिलाते हैं, फिर फेक ऐप डाउनलोड करा के अपने झांसे में फंसाते हैं। सेबी और एनएससी का कहना है, सेबी इन्वेस्टर साइट पर वेरीफाइड एप्स की लिस्ट से ही ऐप डाउनलोड करें। एन इन्वेस्टर अवेयरनेस इनिशिएटिव बाय सेबी एंड एनएससी।
Long night?
You have no idea.
I got you.
Every day Motorola Edge 60 Pro.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola Edge 60 Pro, the true flagship killer.
Hi, here are the top headlines presented by Motorola. Bihar cabinet portfolios finalized. Samrat Chaudhary gets Home Department. Supreme Court seeks EC's reply on SIR. Issues notice on Kerala government's plea. Siddaramaiah says on power tussle, High Command's verdict is final.
Every story finds a place. Every voice gets a platform. Every side has its say. Your channel for every headline. Prime Team on India Today, India's only democratic newsroom.
Motorola Edge 60 Pro, the true flagship killer.
कैसा लगाना है तो सेंचुरी प्लाई क्लब प्राइम पे लगाओ, डूबेगा नहीं, जलेगा भी नहीं, कोई खा नहीं जाएगा, धोखा नहीं देगा, ऊपर नीचे भी नहीं होगा, सेफ रहेगा, सिक्योर्ड में मिनिमम 30 साल का रिटर्न देगा। अब इससे बेटर इन्वेस्टमेंट है तो बताओ। सेंचुरी प्लाई क्लब प्राइम, रहो बेफिक्र।
Long night?
You have no idea.
I got you.
Motorola Edge 60 Pro.
Hello, Moto.
Sabarimala opens to heavy rush as the Mandala Puja pilgrimage season started on Monday. With nearly 3 lakh devotees visiting the Ayyappa temple on the first 3 days, devotees were forced to stand in queues for hours. Many devotees complained about shortage of drinking water and dirty toilets. The Travancore Devaswam Board's newly appointed president K. Jayakumar apologized for the situation, admitting inadequate preparations. The Kerala High Court too stepped in. The court posed tough questions to the state government and the Devaswam Board and observed that preparations for the pilgrimage season should have begun 6 months ago. After a directive from the High Court, Devaswam Board on Thursday capped the number of devotees who visit the temple through spot booking at 5,000. 70,000 slots per day are available for online booking. India Today visited Pampa, the base camp for the reality check. After the new measures introduced, crowd management has improved. Devotees say cleanliness remains an issue. The Congress and BJP came down heavily on a Pinarayi Vijayan government and the Devaswam Board for mismanagement during pilgrimage season.
Motorola Edge 60 Pro, the true flagship killer.
Long night?
You have no idea.
I got you.
Motorola Edge 60 Pro. Hello, Moto.
The Supreme Court on Thursday gave its opinion on the presidential reference, which asked whether a court can set timelines for governors and president to give assent to bills passed by state legislatures. The opinion from 5-judge bench headed by Chief Justice B.R. Gavai contradicts an earlier judgment by the Apex Court that set timeframes. The judges have said the court cannot prescribe timelines for president and governor. But they add that while governors are not rubber stamps, they cannot stall bills endlessly. The court says actions of the governor are not justiciable, which means subject to trial, but adds that the court can give directions to the governor if there is prolonged inaction. The judges added that the concept of deemed assent used in the earlier verdict to pass the bills is alien to the Constitution. There are mixed reactions to the Supreme Court's stand that could pave the way to scrapping of the old judgment. The earlier verdict setting timelines was delivered on a petition filed by Tamil Nadu government against the governor. The court's new opinion is a setback for the DMK government. The Supreme Court's decision will have bearing on opposition rule states who have faced long delays in getting the governor's assent to bills passed by the legislature.
Hi, I'm Sana. Here's your weather update. Delhi maximum 27 and minimum 14 degrees. Mumbai maximum 33 and minimum 22 degrees. Kolkata maximum 29 and minimum 19 degrees. Bengaluru maximum 25 and minimum 20 degrees. Chennai maximum 31 and minimum 24 degrees. Hyderabad maximum 28 and minimum 16 degrees.
Sorry.
चलत वोटर मोहलियों रे पटना वाला नितसवा चलत वोटर मोहलियों रे पटना वाला नितसवा
विपक्ष को ठेंगा दिखाए दिया रे दिखाया अपना जलवा विपक्ष को ठेंगा दिखाई दिया रे दिखाया अपना जलवा
फिर से बन गई डबल इंजनवा फिर से बन गई डबल इंजनवा विपक्ष का सब रस ले लियो रे पटना वाला नितसवा विपक्ष का सब रस ले लियो रे पटना वाला नितसवा महिला वोटर ने किया कमालवा
महिला वोटर ने किया कमालवा कुर्सी को फिर से पा लिए रे पटना वाले नितसवा
कुर्सी को फिर से पा लिया रे पटना वाला नितसवा
अब ना जरूरत है पार्टी पलटनवा अब ना जरूरत है पार्टी पलटनवा इंडिया नहीं हम एनडीए के हैं संगवा स्थिर सी सरकार बनाई लियो रे पटना वाला नितसवा सत्ता के सब रस ले लिया रे पटना वाला नितसवा
Co-presented by Century Ply Club Prime, Raho Befikar. Co-powered by Vizi, a true smart TV that has it all.
Good evening. We begin India first with a very disturbing story. A Tejas light combat aircraft of the Indian Air Force crashed in Dubai during an air show. And unfortunately, in this accident, the pilot lost his life. And this is the last moment of that air crash. Watch this image. The pilot, he executes a perfect maneuver when he's flying inverted. And then he comes in for a barrel dive, and just as he's about to pull up or attempts to pull up, is it the altitude or another reason that the plane, it just mushes into the ground, and this crash has sent shockwaves across the aviation sector. The Tejas light combat aircraft so far had a stellar record. Only one crash reported earlier in March 2024 in Jaisalmer, in which the pilots were able to eject safely. However, in this crash, the pilot this afternoon in Dubai was not as fortunate. On India First, we will show you this last video, the last 50 seconds of the flight. The pilot, watch that image. He's executed a perfect inverted maneuver. There, he's inverted. Now, he goes in for a barrel dive, and then just before he's able to pull up, he seems to lose altitude completely. Was it engine? Was it avionics? Was it a thrust? Was it some other issue? Was it pilot error? We still do not know. The aircraft mushed into ground and erupted in a huge ball of fire. The Indian Air Force has now constituted a court of inquiry, and over the course of the next half hour, we get you all details. We have some of the ace fighter pilots of the Indian Air Force, those who've flown Mirages and Sukhois, joining us on this broadcast to talk more about this. Also coming up on India First at 8:30 tonight, stunning revelations in the Delhi Red Fort blast investigations. Doctors of Doom were actually using hospitals as storage facilities for dangerous arms and ammunition, quite like Hamas in Gaza. Remember, Hamas, Israel says, was using hospitals, underground bunkers in hospitals to store weapons and as their command and control centers. That's exactly what some of the doctors in India were also doing. Dr. Adil, Dr. Muhammad Umar, Dr. Muzammil, for example, from their offices, from their locker rooms inside hospitals, arms, ammunitions have been recovered. Quite like Hamas, they're also planning land and air attacks, drone attacks, rocket attacks across multiple cities. And at 8:30 tonight, we'll have much more on that big story. I'm Gaurav Sawant. As always, let's get started with the headlines on India First. Indian Air Force Tejas light combat aircraft crashes during the Dubai Airshow. The fighter jet crashes while attempting a low-flying maneuver. Indian Air Force confirms the pilot sadly succumbed to his injuries. A court of inquiry has been ordered. Stunning revelations in the Delhi blast probe. Sources say Jaish-e-Mohammed's module was inspired by Hamas and attempted to convert hospitals in Baramulla and Anantnag into weapons storage facilities. Delhi police oppose bail for 2020 Delhi riots. Accused Umar Khalid point to inflammatory tukde speeches, show videos of how mobs were mobilized, call it a regime change attempt like Bangladesh and Nepal. Karnataka Game of Thrones hits top gear. Chief Minister Siddaramaiah speaks to Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge and asks the High Command to act now. Congress Karnataka in charge Randeep Surjewala warns MLAs to stop making public statements. Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrives in Johannesburg for the G20 summit. Indian diaspora gave a cultural welcome to the Prime Minister. US President Donald Trump, Chinese President Xi Jinping and Russian President Vladimir Putin skipped the Johannesburg G20 summit. We begin India first with this very disturbing story of the Tejas light combat aircraft crash at the Dubai Airshow. Now, this was a demonstration, a flight that happened 2:10 this afternoon local time. The aircraft, as you can see in these pictures, it just went down while performing a low-level maneuver in front of thousands of spectators, and there were a large number of cameras that have filmed the last 50 seconds of this flight. Just watch, it just suddenly comes crashing down. Unfortunately, the brave young pilot was killed in this air crash. Charred debris and thick smoke and a huge ball of smoke were seen at the crash site. The Indian Air Force has ordered a court of inquiry to know the exact cause of this crash. We get you more in this report.
The flag bearer of Make in India, a jet that earned global applause. Now mired in tragedy. A Tejas jet crashed during a demo flight at the Dubai Airshow 2025. A crash that killed its pilot. A ball of fire hit the desert tarmac, accompanied by black smoke, roaring sirens, with thousands watching on at Al Maktoum Airport. The video shows Tejas attempting a complex barrel maneuver. It then briefly reaches a dangerous negative G position. The pilot tries to turn the aircraft back around. But the move happens too close to the ground. There's no altitude to recover. And in those final seconds, the pilot doesn't manage to eject.
Oh my God, this is very shocking news. We're in the middle of air show in Dubai. Tejas India just crashed. Dubai Airshow. Gua masih shock. Oh my God.
The Indian Air Force has confirmed that the pilot sustained fatal injuries and was killed in the tragedy, and a court of inquiry has been ordered. Designed and developed in India, Tejas is a fourth-generation, single-engine supersonic fighter jet, crucial to the nation's mission for defense self-reliance. The Tejas crash at the Dubai Airshow is a major setback to the legacy of what is expected to be the mainstay of the Indian Air Force. A detailed investigation will hopefully determine what went wrong in the final seconds before impact. Bureau Report, India Today.
And I want you to look at these images once again. These images are sadly heartbreaking. The IAF has a stellar record of flying the Tejas light combat aircraft. 0 crashes from that first flight in 2001 to the first crash that actually took place in 2024. But in 2024 in Jaisalmer, the pilots were thankfully able to eject the crash this afternoon. Watch as the pilot, he brings the aircraft into that roll, and then as he attempts to lift, the aircraft just mushes into the ground. Ultra low level maneuver resulted in this crash, and sadly the pilot, we lost him. As we look at these pictures, I have 3 ace fighter pilots and flight safety experts joining me on the show, along with senior journalist Sandeep Unnithan. Joining me on India First is Air Marshal Sanjeev Kapoor, former Director General of Flight Safety and Inspections. Group Captain Mohanto Panging is a former Su-30 MKI fighter pilot and a display supervisor. He's flown many of these very low-level maneuvers himself and has been a part of the aerobatics team and has guided aerobatics team. Also with me is Group Captain Augustine Vinod. He's a former Mirage 2000 fighter pilot. Again, someone who's carried out many of these low-level maneuvers. Also a drone expert. And Group Captain Panging, your initial assessment from these images, sir, the pilot, it seems, is able to execute a perfect inverted maneuver. He comes down, but then fails to pull up. You know, your experience, both as flying low-level sorties and supervising a lot of these low-level aerobatics in these air shows. What may have happened, sir?
Hello, Gaurav, to you from Pasighat in Arunachal Pradesh. First of all, my heart goes out to Wing Commander Sayal, who crashed during this air show at Dubai. So, you know, display pilots live on the edge and they have to take split-second decisions. And flying the plane at 600 to 1,000 kilometers per hour and very close to the ground. My heart goes out to him, and may he rest in peace, fellow display pilot. And what appears prima facie, though we are still waiting for the FDR reports and whether any technical malfunction took place or some other problems took place like a bird, etc., which cannot be ruled out at this stage. Doing a low-level aerobatics, there are very strict cutoff lines. I myself has been a display pilot and a supervisor and done many of them in many air shows in Sukhoi 30. We have got very strict cutoff lines that at a certain height, if you don't meet this criteria, you don't commit into a maneuver. So what appears prima facie is what we call in our aviation lexicon is must. He is must. He could not control the recovery process and hit the ground. That is what appears from the initial video. Though still we have to wait for what the FDR and the other recordings, copy voice recorder says. But let me put you as a display pilot myself.
Yes.
That carrying out low-level aerobatics displays near the ground with a super fast fighter plane and maneuvering at 8-9 Gs. And in this case, as you explained, a little bit of negative G also. So it requires expertise of the highest level, and display pilots go through a very stringent set of selection criteria, stringent set of training criteria.
Considering
and also,
this was an air show in Dubai, I can only assume the best of the best was sent for this. I'll come back to you, Group Captain Vinod. Your take on the crash as we slow down these images and you're watching this very closely, and I'm sure you have on loop like I have been. Inverted, goes down, turns, but then is unable to pull up and mushes into the ground. Your assessment, sir?
Firstly, when Penging sir has spoken as a display pilot, I can only value add to what he is already has covered. In fact, for the sake of viewers and Gaurav to you, even Penging ejected in Uttarlai way back in, I think, in the early 90s. And to recover him, I was the first one to reach. And he had 2 ejections. Both the ejections have been there. First one was in a Hunter, I think, in the 80s. Anyway, be that as it may, adding to what he already covered, in a, this maneuver, Gaurav, which Tejas does, is a signature maneuver called a negative G split. So the aeroplane faces you, but turns away from you. You see that on the screen? And then he does something called a barrel recovery. Like Penging sir correctly covered, in the afternoon, I mean, in people who have flown in desert regions, they know, when we do such maneuvers as part of our profile, even in day-to-day flying, when we are carrying out air-to-ground strafing run and air-to-ground bombing run. So when you come in the morning, and in the same range when you are pulling out, and when you come in the afternoon, and the same range when you're pulling out, the mush is higher because the air is thinner because of higher temperature. And temperature makes the air thinner. And you can feel the mush is different when the air is thinner. So I'm sure this pilot did this similar display in the morning, but in the afternoon time, in the second display time, the mush has been, like penguins are covered, has been the killer, and it is an invisible killer. You can't see a thinner air and a thicker air differently. So that is where my money is. And
there are no gauges. There are no gauges in the cockpit to tell you the difference. It's only experience and the amount of flying that you do in that environment.
And so secondly, another thing I'll tell you, Gaurav, there is not a single engine fighter in the history of aviation ever flown or flying which has the safety record that the Tejas enjoys.
Oh, absolutely. I'll come to that safety record in just a moment. You're absolutely right. From 2001 to 24, not a single crash. Air Marshal Kapoor, as Director General of Flight Safety and Inspections, how important in your appreciation are these visual bits of evidence to help form an opinion and come to that bigger picture? Of course, you will rely on the cockpit voice recorder, the flight data recorder, and so many other parameters. But visually, sir, what would you conclude?
I covered during the afternoon session with you that at this stage, when the aircraft wants to pull out, something has happened which did not allow the aircraft to pull up. Now, it could be a mechanical fault, it could be an engine failure, it could be pilot error, it could be whatsoever Augustine has just said, the performance parameters which he didn't anticipate. In aviation, the performance of the aeroplane, for benefit of your viewers, is directly proportional to the temperature condition. And the same I covered during your Ahmedabad accident of Air India 171 also. It was a fully loaded aeroplane in the afternoon, going to London, and got airborne at the edge of the other runway. And had it been this thing, a winter month, or probably the early morning hours or late evening hours, the chances of recovery happens, they are much better. But coming specifically to today's accident, the maneuver has gone okay, but somewhere here, which visuals which are just showing, something has gone amiss, where the last turn he is about to roll out and pull out. The height may not be adequate at this stage. He may be trying to pull out the aircraft, hoping against hopes that it will come out. But I'm not sure of the exact cause at this stage.
Okay. Okay, Group Captain Panging wants to come in. Sir, just give me 20 seconds. I want to bring in Sandeep into this conversation because we've actually slowed down those images and we are slowing it down even further, for the benefit of our viewers to be able to ascertain how that perfect inverted flight, Sandeep, was executed, how the pilot then brought it down, that signature move as Groupie Augustine Vinod was telling us, and how when he attempted to pull up, that's when something went absolutely wrong at this stage. So maybe he doesn't have altitude. He doesn't have altitude at all. Sandeep, you've been speaking to your sources both in Delhi and Dubai. What have you been able to pick up?
Well, exactly what you just said, Gaurav. The fact is that the pilot possibly, for various reasons, we don't know what, failed to get the kind of altitude he needed to complete that maneuver. And this kind of flying, Gaurav, it's literally you're flying, at a razor's edge. And this is the kind of maneuvers, this is the kind of skill that the pilot was demonstrating to the crowds. A fighter flying is risky, it's hazardous even at times, but aerobatics, it's even more, it's riskier because pilots are literally pushing their machines to the edge of their performance envelopes. And, there are times when things can go horribly wrong. We've seen that in the past. There have been several air shows. That there's a crash in Ramstein Air Base in 1988 where, literally 70, 80 spectators were killed. 3 aircraft crashed. The Italian Air Force aircraft crashed. So you've had multiple such incidents like this in Ukraine as well. So because, it is aerobatics, a fighter flying like this, edge of the seat, razor's edge flying, it is, it is hazardous. It is almost, and that is what the whole thrill of, watching shows like this is, Gaurav. And it is clearly something that's gone horribly wrong here. It is a very sad day for us here. Watching this, it is a sad day for the Indian Air Force and for this program.
It's heartbreaking. Sandeep, you're so right. It's so heartbreaking because all of us, and Sandeep and I, we've both covered Tejas from the time it was on the drawing board to when it took its first flight, to all the problems that came with it from the 1998 post-Pokhran sanctions and the development of the fly-by-wire technology domestically in India, the excitement in the voices of the Air Force officers that time, humne kar dikhaya, we did it. And that entire journey and the delay in the GE404 engines that impacts not just the Air Force, the entire country. So, Sandeep, you're absolutely right. This is heartbreaking for the entire nation. Group Captain Panging, the point you wanted to make and also the point of only 2 crashes so far, but in 2 years, 2024 first crash, fortunately non-fatal, 2025 the first fatal. What are some lessons that can be drawn initially before the Court of Inquiry is completed?
There are 2-3 issues I want to flag. One is that whenever you carry out any display flying, then there are 2 things called display director. And there are foul lines, which is certain. This happened actually after the fatal crash of Wing Commander Joe Buxy in Emirates 2000 over
New Delhi, 1987, if I remember the year correctly.
Yeah. So what happens, they drew a foul line so that you don't go close to the audience and the spectators, and like what happened in Ramstein and other bases where you end up inflicting damages to audiences. So there's something called foul line. And there's something called a display director. So their job is to ensure discipline because there are too many aircrafts doing displays during air show. And as to how many practice profiles did our display pilot has done before this incident has taken place, I'm not aware of these details. But it takes time to get accustomed to a particular situation as brought out by Group Captain Vinod, that the environment may change. Like another thing I want to point out is about a negative G. See, I did a display along with Wing Commander Rakra over Chopati in Mumbai, where we inverted the plane. And the gravity force is so much that it pulls the nose down. So what is the normal procedure of inverting the plane is you put the nose up by 10 to 15 degrees pitch and then invert. And then you push the stick forward, so it gives you negative G and you hang on your straps. And you are still flying, maintaining the wings level inverted, hanging upside down, looking at Chopati and this. And due to some issues, we could not switch off the afterburner and we are inverted. And when we have afterburner and we inverted, the time limit is very less because the engines run out of fuel and may flame off. So we went through this maneuver. So of course it is living on the edge. But I'll bring out one more thing. Like test pilots are the safest pilots, display pilots are also supposed to become the safest pilots. When I trained as display supervisor, the pilots who were cleared for low-level aerobatics, there was go-no-go conditions every stage of the flight. You commit into a maneuver. For example, if you are committed into a loop, and in the top of the height, you don't have 1 kilometer height. I'm just giving an example. You just do a roll of top. You don't commit into the vertically down maneuver. So the escape maneuvers and each exit maneuvers of each maneuver is taught. And they are debriefed in detail on the ground. And we go through the video displays.
Except
and the
that in
VRS
this
displays
case, perhaps the time and altitude was almost Air Marshal Kapoor next to zero. To exit out of that maneuver, the plane was already too low, prima facie. But from this point on, sir, will the Court of Inquiry team travel to Dubai? Fuel sample be collected? Other samples be collected? What is the next procedure before the CVR and FDR is decoded, sir? The cockpit voice recorder and the flight data recorder.
First and foremost, the area where the crash has taken place would have been cordoned off, I guess. The video recordings right from the time the aircraft was last brought in, the servicing that carried out, and the people who approached the aircraft would be under surveillance to rule out any sabotage or any other. The refueling that has gone on would be checked. The samples would be taken from the fuel and the oils which were replenished after the last sortie. The technicians who have serviced on the aeroplane, Form 700 and other documents would be asked. And the team, I'm sure, would be on its way now from the Directorate of Flight Safety to extract the OEM personnel from Bangalore, the LCA, the HAL personnel specializing in this would also be flown into there to give their expert advice, because every crash site has the answers to, though the fortunately or unfortunate accident, fortunately some video evidence is available, but for accidents where there is no recording or other things, they rely on the debris. The scatter of the debris decides the altitude at which the aircraft is impacted. So all those factors would be taken into consideration. The heaviest part goes off the farthest, and so it would give an idea of the speed, it would give an idea of the attitude and other settings of throttles.
Okay.
So
you mentioned sabotage. You mentioned that is an angle that is also investigated. Can you give me details of what that sabotage angle could include, if at all?
I don't know. It's just a speculation which I can draw, but we don't rule out all possibilities. We will begin with pilot's rest. We will begin investigating as to did he sleep well last night? Was there adequate rest between the last sortie to this sortie? Was the aircraft in a fit condition to be taken for the next sortie? What were it's all drawn out. Every action for investigation is drawn out. People are trained, and the Air Force conducts this accident investigation thoroughly. And Air Force is the only agency in our country which trains people how to do accident investigation.
Group Captain Vinod, other fighter jets have crashed during air shows across the world. There are some who say, in today's day and age, when you have beyond visual range missiles, when your Air Force doesn't even need to cross the international border to bomb bases across, do we need to relook the kind of aerobatics and loops and the kind of air shows, or are they essential to know the capabilities and the edge of the capabilities of not just the pilot, but also the aircraft, and very essential in case you want to ingress into a country flying low level to evade radars?
Okay. Gaurav, picking up from where Marshall talked about accident investigation. So the institution that Marshall was heading, I did my accident investigation course from there, and not to Tom, a gold medalist, as well as done many accident investigation, myself including fatal accident investigation. That is the background I'm saying this. What Marshall enumerated very clearly is the standard operating procedure that you go through for every single accident that happens. It starts with, you ruling out the possibility of sabotage, etc., etc. So you keep ticking the boxes and keep coming down to find out the most plausible or probable cause. In this case, like we said on this unfortunate accident, fortunately, we have the video evidence as well as the audio evidence. Even audio evidence is very, very important evidence for sake of viewers. I'm saying this. From audio, we can even make out the revolution of the engine, the thrust engines producing, etc., etc. In this case, that may not be required because we will already have the FDR, the flight data recorder. And I don't know whether CVR exists in Tejas or not, and is it required or not. Coming to the maneuver per se, you have, like Penging sir was talking about exit policies. You have multiple exit routes or exit points given to the pilot and the display director and this display supervisor on ground. So it is a two-man game. One man is flying and the other man is watching him from the ground and telling him at what point should he exit. So all the exit policies or procedures are in place. And the reason why we do this particular display flying are threefold. A, to showcase our capability to the world and to the potential buyers. B, to motivate the young children to join the Indian Air Force. I saw one aeroplane flying over my head when I was in 8th standard, and I decided I will be fighter pilot and nothing else. And the three, and most importantly, for the people of the country, they should know this is how we carry out combat flying, and this is how we keep you safe, to instill, confidence in the aeroplane that we own and fly. So a very, very important activity that cannot be not done. But lastly, 12 F-35s have crashed. There are countries still standing in line begging Trump to give them F-35. So it has this crash has absolutely no bearing on the capability or on the technical and other capabilities of Tejas. I've already mentioned
That's a very important point. And very important point you make there. Let me bring Sandeep into this conversation on that point. The Indian Air Force, as Group Captain Vinod was saying, full faith in the Tejas program, because there will be these doubting Thomases who will now come and start peddling, buy from overseas, don't build your own, don't develop your own. It will lead to more losses and time delay. Of course, we need to buy some as a stopgap now that we're in this situation, but we need to continue to build and upgrade the Make in India Tejas aircraft and then go all the way up to AMCA, Sandeep, isn't it?
Absolutely, Gaurav. And for that, the LCA Tejas Mark 1, Mark 1A is absolutely crucial for that. If you want to get to an AMCA, you have to learn to walk before you run, and that is where the Tejas Mark 1A, Mark 2 and all that fit in. And I want to remind you, Gaurav, of the original sin in our quest for an indigenous fighter aircraft. We killed the Marut, the HF-24 Marut in the 70s because we said that its engine was underpowered. We didn't go hell for leather to develop that aircraft. That could have been our LCA in the 1970s. Indeed, it was. We killed that program. And now we have another option. We have another opportunity to rediscover our indigenous fighter capacity and our capability. And that is something that we cannot afford to lose sight of, Gaurav. Otherwise, we will forever be at the mercy of foreign suppliers, foreign nations, who, as you've highlighted, don't have our best interests at heart. You will have supply chain issues at the end of the day with even close countries that profess to be your strategic partners, Gaurav.
Oh, absolutely. Do keep in mind, and that story, Sandeep and I will have for you in days to come. HF-24 Marut had India pressed on with it, which all aviation experts, and I have three of the best with me here on the broadcast, insist was a great design, great plane. We should have worked on the engine from that point on. Perhaps we would have had our own fighter jet engine instead of then abandoning it, going in for procurement from overseas and then reinventing the wheel once again. We are at that point, but Air Marshal Kapoor, in your appreciation, Tejas from 2001 to 2024, 0 crashes, 2024 one crash, fortunately non-fatal, 2025 one crash, sadly fatal, but India must bash on regardless with Tejas, Mark 1, 1A and then 2?
Absolutely, 100%. We have come so far. There's a long queue of countries wanting to buy Tejas. And yesterday's air show we watched on your broadcast also. The LCA air show was a showstopper.
Stunning.
The this aeroplane, the visitors queue, which I was watching on some other social media handle, the people are queued up to have a look at this. See, I always say the country's economic might, its growth, and its other factors also add on to your military hardware. Why is the American? So F-16s have crashed, F-18s have crashed, Su-30s have crashed, Su-25s have crashed, Typhoons they've all crashed in air shows. Even in
F-35s have crashed. In fact, we have those images and graphics of air crashes in other countries. Go on, sir. We'll just put that out. And we have images of crashes in other countries. That hasn't hampered their program. Go on, sir.
Absolutely. So the negativity about India's growth is something. The water coming out from the Tejas water drain was taken as a fuel leak a couple of days ago and brashed on all the social medias. So unfortunately, this accident will add fodder to anti-nationals to push that but this should not deter in any way. There have been so many accidents in the past in air shows. This is very unfortunate, but this should not in any way hamper our progress towards developing our own AMCA. And this experience of this journey will help us to make our own fighter aeroplanes.
Group Captain Panging, is that also your appreciation? You've flown the Su-30s, you've flown other types from Hunters to Su-30s. Your take on Tejas light combat aircraft?
You see, I have carried out 2 ejections, like Group Captain Vinod had mentioned.
Yes.
One I carried out on Hunter and the other one on Jaguar. But I got back into flying and got on to flying the best aircraft in the world that time, the Sukhoi 30 MKI. And I got on to do low-level aerobatics, then Republic Day fly past, being vertical over India Gate. So Tejas, we must continue towards this Atmanirbhar Bharat policy where the Prime Minister has introduced, and vocal for local. And there is a problem with the engine. I always kept telling so in so many other forums, that why, despite so many IITs and capable engineers and so many institutes, why we cannot make our own aero engine till now? Why we can't make our fighter aircraft till now? If India wants to be a superpower, we have to produce our own tanks, ships, and fighter planes. And that is a challenge. And I personally feel that Tejas has to continue, like what you mentioned about the Marut. So this is indigenous. There will be hurdles. There will be hurdles, but we have to persevere. There will be problems, but we have to persevere. To become a superpower, we have to be Atmanirbhar in defense equipment. And
that's very essential.
We have to start making aero engines so that we are not dependent on others. So this is a stepping stone, and we have to give a boost to Atmanirbhar and continue with this Tejas. That is what my opinion is.
Okay, Group Captain Vinod, there will be many who'll bring out every problem with the Tejas, and we must bring out. There are problems, we must bring them out in public domain, discuss them, and then find a solution. But you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. This aircraft, I mean, our pilot safety, top priority. Who knows that better than all of you? You are fighter pilots yourselves. So pilot safety, number one. Aircraft development must happen. How do you sort out the niggles en route to ensure these crashes don't happen, sir?
Absolutely. And let me put it very, very clearly. This low-level aerobatics is a pilot versus aeroplane deal. It has nothing to do with if the Tejas had a better radar or a better radar warning receiver or a better missile carrying capability, would this accident have been prevented? Though these kind of questions no space in looking at the capability of Tejas. Low-level aerobatics is purely man versus machine deal. It has nothing to do with the technical capability of the Tejas, firstly. Secondly, anyone can show me one aeroplane, one single-engine fighter ever made or it is flying currently which has the safety record of Tejas, then I would happily say shut down the program. There is no program no fighter aircraft program in the world which can boast of this kind of safety record that Tejas enjoys. Why? Because it has quadruplex fly-by-wire control system. It has wonderful maintenance policies in place, maintenance systems in place, maintenance ports in place. It is completely, maintainable using. It is a data-driven aeroplane, and like Sandeep said, stepping stone to AMCA, stepping stone to Mark 1 Alpha. So there is many miles to go before we sleep. Over to you.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I will let that be the last word on this part of the show. Because do keep in mind, yes, it's very, very tragic. We've lost a brave fighter pilot today. A very experienced officer of the rank of a wing commander has been lost today. But then the Air Force will rise again and touch the sky with glory for the Air Force and for the country. I want to thank all my guests. We will track the story very closely. A quick break. As we slip into this break, I must tell you what's coming up on the other side. Doctors of doom arrested in Anantnag, Srinagar and other parts of the country were actually plotting Hamas-style terror attacks and were converting hospitals, their locker rooms, into weapons storage facilities. Whether it was Anantnag or Baramulla, details coming up.
Association with
Century Ply Club Prime, Raho Befikar. Motorola Edge 60 Pro, the true flagship killer.
कैसा लगाना है? तो सेंचुरी प्लाई क्लब प्राइम पे लगाओ। डूबेगा नहीं, जलेगा भी नहीं, कोई खा नहीं जाएगा, धोखा नहीं देगा, ऊपर नीचे भी नहीं होगा, सेफ रहेगा, सिक्योर्ड मिनिमम 30 साल का रिटर्न देगा। अब इससे बेटर इन्वेस्टमेंट है? तो बताओ। सेंचुरी प्लाई क्लब प्राइम, रहो बेफिक्र।
सल्यूट है जी, आप देश की रक्षा में जान लगा देते हैं
और आप
घर घर में तार लगाते हैं जी। ई बीम टेक्नोलॉजी से बनी, न जले न पिघले, सबकी रक्षा करे।
हम सरहद पर लोगों की रक्षा करते हैं और आप देश के अंदर। सल्यूट तो बनता है जी।
अपार अणुशक्ति फायर प्रोटेक्ट वायर, अपार देश का तार।
Long night?
You have no idea.
I got you.
Motorola Edge 60 Pro. Hello, Moto.
Welcome back. Stunning revelations in the Red Fort terror attack investigations. Investigators now say that these doctors of doom were plotting a Hamas-style multi-pronged offensive, air, rocket, drone and IED-based attacks. And quite like the Hamas, they were storing weapons and ammunition in hospitals. Several doctors who were taken into custody when their locker rooms and hospitals were raided in Srinagar and Anantnag. Weapons were recovered, ammunition was recovered. They were building mini rockets for a rocket attack on vital assets and vital points. We get you more in this report.
The Red Fort blast probe has unmasked a Hamas-style, three-pronged terror blueprint of Jaish-e-Mohammed. New revelations suggest they were receiving technical support, stockpiling massive quantities of explosives, and even planning hospital-based weapons storage. Sources close to the investigation say the busted Jaish module was mirroring the Hamas playbook point for point. Hamas has used drones to infiltrate and strike, and this module too was allegedly planning drone attacks on Indian targets. Hamas deployed rockets along Israeli borders, and the 10-11 accused here were allegedly building their own mini rockets. And just as Hamas hid weapons inside Gaza's Al-Shifa hospital, this module, investigators claim, planned to turn hospitals in Jammu and Kashmir into weapons depots. NIA source allege the Jaish-linked doctor module had zoomed in on hospitals in Baramulla, Anantnag and Srinagar to store arms. They were allegedly getting tech support from Hamas. Sources say weapons have been seized from lockers of doctors. India Today has also accessed a crucial video from November 10th. Evidence of the explosive haul meant for multiple blasts. Over 50 sacks of ammonium nitrate were recovered from a house rented by Dr. Muzammil Shakil Ghane in a village near Faridabad. The cash was seized after the arrest of Dr. Adil Rathar, which led agencies to Dr. Muzammil in Faridabad. In total, 2,900 kilos of bomb-making material were recovered.
Multi-agency crackdown. What had happened is that this particular house of Imam Istiaq was zeroed down. In this particular room, there was more than 2,500 kgs of ammonium nitrate, fertilizer and other raw materials which could have been actually used by the terror to conduct several blasts like Red Fort blast that happened that shook the country.
Investigators claim the terror module planned attacks on December 6th, the anniversary of Babri Masjid demolition. The crackdown on terror module disrupted the plan. With Amit Bharadwaj, Bureau Report, India Today.
I quickly want to bring Dr. Tara Kartha, former director at the National Security Council Secretariat, into this conversation. Also with me is Abhijit Ayar Mitra, senior fellow at the IPCS. Sandeep Unithan stays with me. Dr. Tara Kartha, these doctors had weapons, arms and ammunition in their locker rooms in hospitals. Doctors heal. They, along with the stethoscope, had AK-47s and ammunition. Every revelation, what does it reveal about, one, their mindset, two, their training, tactics and plans?
I'm really, I mean, this, the amount of ammonium nitrate they had is bad enough. I mean, you're talking of, like you said, hundreds of kilos of this. But what you also, I think, referred to in terms of now, I think it's more or less established as a Jaish module and the link to Hamas. That is extremely, what shall I say? It's not unsurprising. That is my problem. I mean, we've seen this line of thinking for some years. It is not immediately now. We saw it way back when that whole, the BDS movement, that was going on against Palestine, where Kashmir was linked to that, Stand with Kashmir was linked to that. Then, of course, you had the Hamas leader coming and visiting POK. He was right next to Bahawalpur. That's where he was. And he, if I remember right, he also addressed parliament. I mean, that is the state of Hamas ingress into Pakistan.
And right the fact that Jaish-e-Mohammed and Hamas together are planning to bleed India, Abhijit, very alarming that they're making mini rockets. So we've seen IEDs, we've seen assault rifles, we've seen grenades, but now they want to escalate. They're making mini rockets, and highly educated doctors and engineers and others being involved in this, rigging drones to drop IEDs. I mean, this is like taking terror, the war altogether to the next level.
Absolutely. Look, the thing is, Pakistan has always tried very carefully to control what kind of technology they give the jihadis in Kashmir. You see, their intent on Afghanistan was always to burn Afghanistan down, which is why they used to give Stinger missiles to the Afghan Mujahideen in the 80s very liberally. They never gave those Stinger missiles to the jihadis that they sent into Kashmir, remember, to shoot down planes and things like that. So they still won't, because their intention was always to have soft control over Afghanistan and hard physical control over Kashmir. And they don't want somebody undermining them even within Kashmir. So what are they doing? They're going for the next best option, which is they've seen how good Indian defenses are during Operation Sindoor. I think what was happening here was a twofold attempt. One was to have mass casualty events all across Delhi, which is what the ammonium nitrate was for, while the drones and things would be carried out simultaneously on Indian air defenses and Indian drone defenses, which were so effective during Sindoor. And that would be a sort of a military operation which would not get attention and masked by the mass casualty events that happened in Delhi. This is, very common for things like that to happen. Remember, that is exactly what Hamas did on 7th of October.
Which is
They
very
launched
scary.
a massive barrage of rockets to hide their movement into their physical ground movement into the southern Negev desert, which was the main thrust to capture hostages.
And Hamas killed 1,200 Israelis and captured 250 of them and took them back. Now, if these terrorists, and Hamas may not have had the kind of support that these terrorists seem to have, Sandeep, what I'm more worried about is the terror ecosystem, the enabling ecosystem. Is it plausible or possible that a doctor can take an AK-47 to his locker inside a hospital and it remain there undetected?
Well, Gaurav, this is shocking because, what you just explained over here, this doctor's plot, this plan by a group of doctors to carry out a mass casualty attack. It's literally a watershed in India's fight against Pakistan's state-sponsored terror. And, how the deep state works, Gaurav, is that it absorbs, modus operandi that it sees across the world. And if you're looking at 26/11, for instance, that was something that was carried out in Israel exactly 50 years ago, the Savoy Hotel attack, where you had terrorists, PLO terrorists landing in rubber boats in Tel Aviv and then going on to attack hotels.
I have to interrupt you for a moment. I have breaking news coming in. This is coming in from Dubai. I quickly want to tell our viewers information that we now have. We officially have the name of Wing Commander Naman Sayal. Wing Commander Naman Sayal is the officer, that fighter pilot who was flying that aircraft. We have his name, we have his picture. This is now officially confirmed by the Indian Air Force. His family has been informed, and only then is this information being given out in public domain. We had the name earlier, but we were not sharing it till the time the information was given officially to the family, because it does become very, very heartbreaking, Sandeep, if you hear from the media and not from the family of the Indian Air Force. So Wing Commander Naman Sayal, an ace fighter pilot, a display pilot, was flying that light combat aircraft Tejas at the Dubai Airshow this morning. A flying pilot from Kangra in Himachal Pradesh, Sandeep. This would truly be heartbreaking, not just for his family, for people of Himachal Pradesh. In fact, now we can also tell our viewers that Himachal Pradesh Chief Minister Sukhu has confirmed that a hero from the state made the supreme sacrifice of his life. Naman Sayal, Wing Commander Naman Sayal, hails from Kangra. Sandeep, truly heartbreaking, not just for the family, but for the nation.
Absolutely, Gaurav. This is, words fail me when, you're looking at this tragedy of this very fine young fighter pilot cut down in his prime, literally. He was flying there. He was, demonstrating one of our most precious aircraft, the LCA Tejas, which is a culmination of so many decades of, research and development and expertise. And it is so sad. it's a sad day for India, for the Indian Air Force, and of course for the people of Wing Commander Sial's family, Gaurav.
And these maneuvers, Abhijit, they're actually important to tell the world about our flying skills and also about the capabilities of the aircraft being manufactured in India. It's just unfortunate. You've had crashes like this of F-16s, of F-35s, of Russian origin aircraft, of European aircraft across the world.
So, thanks, Gaurav. See, the main thing out here is that maneuvers done during air shows are almost never used in combat at all. You know, to evade a incoming missile that's maneuvering at 11G, you just need to pull off around 3 to 4G to evade it. So these maneuvers are, the era of doing these maneuvers is long since gone. This is done as morale boosters for pilot, and people don't realize how much. I mean, guys are going in to fight and die for the country. People in normal life don't understand what a morale booster is. Morale is everything.
Absolutely. You know, except what is also very crucial when you're flying low-level flying, when people say, why do you need to fly at treetop heights? Because you're evading the enemy radar at that altitude when you're flying really, really low.
But other than that, remember, even if these maneuvers are done at high altitude, you're flying at 40, 50,000 feet, there is a lot of time to recover.
Exactly, which isn't there. I've run out of time on this part of the show, Abhijit, and we will pursue the story in the days ahead. Very tragic. Wing Commander Naman Sial, the ace fighter pilot, who was unfortunately killed in that air crash at Dubai. A quick break. News and updates continue on India Today. Stay with us.
तो सेंचुरी प्लाई क्लब प्राइम पे लगाओ, डूबेगा नहीं, जलेगा भी नहीं, कोई खा नहीं जाएगा, धोखा नहीं देगा, ऊपर नीचे भी नहीं होगा, सेफ रहेगा, सिक्योर्ड में मिनिमम 30 साल का रिटर्न देगा। अब इससे बेटर इन्वेस्टमेंट है तो बताओ। सेंचुरी प्लाई क्लब प्राइम, रहो बेफिक्र।
Long night?
You have no idea.
I got you.
Motorola Edge 60 Pro. Hello, Moto.
Motorola Edge 60 Pro, the true flagship killer.
Hi, here are the top headlines presented by Motorola. Bihar cabinet portfolios finalized. Samrat Chaudhary gets Home Department. Supreme Court seeks EC's reply on SIR. Issues notice on Kerala government's plea. Siddaramaiah says on power tussle, High Command's verdict is final.
तो सेंचुरी प्लाई क्लब प्राइम पे लगाओ, डूबेगा नहीं, जलेगा भी नहीं, कोई खा नहीं जाएगा, धोखा नहीं देगा, ऊपर नीचे भी नहीं होगा, सेफ रहेगा, सिक्योर्ड में मिनिमम 30 साल का रिटर्न देगा। अब इससे बेटर इन्वेस्टमेंट है तो बताओ। सेंचुरी प्लाई क्लब प्राइम, रहो बेफिक्र।
Long night?
You have no idea.
I got you.
Motorola Edge 60 Pro. Hello, Moto.
Presented by JK Tire Puncture Guard. Say goodbye to flat tire.
1835 में ब्रिटिश सांसद थॉमस बेबिंगटन मैकाले ने भारत को अपनी जड़ों से उखाड़ने के लिए एक बहुत बड़ा अभियान शुरू किया था।
Thomas Babington Macaulay, a writer and historian, came to India in 1834. A year later, Macaulay presented his Minute on Education, in which he famously said,
"We must be at present do our best to form a class who may be interpreters between us and the millions whom we govern, a class of persons Indian in blood and color, but English in taste, in opinions, in morals, and in intellect."
A new system replaced the traditional one. English education was introduced widely.
मैकाले ने एक झटके में हजारों वर्षों के हमारे ज्ञान विज्ञान को, हमारी कला संस्कृति को, हमारी पूरी जीवन शैली को ही कूड़ेदान में फेंक दिया था।
Macaulay spent just 4 years in India, but his policy shaped education and legal system for the years to come.
हमारा विरोध अंग्रेजी भाषा से नहीं है, हम भारतीय भाषाओं के समर्थन में हैं।
Is English a language of opportunities or a language of oppression? Did English education inculcate modern values or create a colonial mindset?
मैकाले द्वारा किए गए उस अपराध को 1835 में जो अपराध किया गया, 2035 10 साल के बाद 200 साल हो जाएंगे। अगले 10 साल में हमें संकल्प लेकर चलना है कि मैकाले ने भारत को जिस गुलामी की मानसिकता से भर दिया है, उस सोच से मुक्ति पाकर के रहेंगे।
Modi versus Macaulay, the big debate.
Hello and welcome to a special News Today debate here on India Today TV. Prime Minister Narendra Modi triggered a major talking point when this week he attacked Thomas Macaulay, the 19th century British historian and politician who's widely seen to have pushed English language education in India with his desire, as he said, to create a class of persons Indian in blood and color, but English in taste, in opinion, in morals and intellect. Prime Minister Modi says Macaulay created a colonial mindset of slavery that India needs to shed now, while others say English education in fact brought modern values to an ancient civilization. Modi versus Macaulay. English education, boon or bane? That's our big talking point and our big debate today. Joining me now, William Dalrymple, historian, celebrated best-selling author, also podcaster and a self-professed Indophile. And with him, Amish Tripathi, best-selling author, also who's been with the Nehru Center in the past. Appreciate both of you joining us. Remember, I spoke to William earlier, so I'm going to first come to William Dalrymple and begin by asking you, William, I want to look at the speech the Prime Minister made closely. Mr. Modi suggested it is time that India got rid of its colonial mindset. To quote him, free ourselves from the mindset of slavery that Macaulay imposed on India. Do you believe Thomas Macaulay imposed a slavery mindset on India in the 19th century? Or did he actually pave the way for some kind of modernity through English education?
So I should come straight up and say my family were Macaulay's great enemies. James Prinsep, who translated Kharoshti and translated all the Ashoka pillars, and his brother Henry Prinsep, who were my great-great-uncles, they had public debates against Macaulay in Calcutta Town Hall. And they were the Orientalists who wanted to have education in Indian languages. So they were, in a sense, on Prime Minister Modi's sides. But my perspective, for all it's worth, as a foreigner coming to live here, is that I was always amazed how little of Britain's colonial shadow remained, even when I first arrived 40 years ago. In the 1980s, I arrived in a country which seemed to have shed most of its colonial shadow. And, the British in India already in the 1980s felt as distant as the Romans in Britain. I've always felt the opposite. I've always felt that India has always been very pragmatic about what it retains and what it has shed. It's shed everything that's useless to it, and it's clung on to the things that are useful. And English is useful. I mean, English is just obviously the international language, and in a sense, it's one of India's great advantages over China that there's so many people here fluent in the language which is the main international language today. But people revert into Hindi in conversation when it suits them. So it seems to me you've got the best of both worlds.
That's interesting. We've had the best of both worlds, but William Dalrymple, there'll be those that will argue that Macaulay ended up creating this Indian elite that still exists according to some, and that's what the Prime Minister was referring to, that the masses, the teeming masses of India must find their voice in Indian society, not just the elites. Many of the masses speak regional language. Why should those who know and speak English well exercise this dominance? Why should this small English-speaking elite class dominate India?
I think one of the great things about India throughout history has been its multilingualism. Many people here speak many languages, and that's an incredible asset to be able to speak English when you're dealing with clients or going to education abroad is a terrific thing. But you should also have pride in your own language and your own literature, and I think India has done that pretty well. I mean, most people in the top tier of society speak English as their first language, but also have one or more languages they can back up on. I think we're right to emphasize that Indian languages and Indian literature are great things to be treasured. But I think that having the option of speaking English is obviously enormously helpful for business and for the country's prosperity. So I think to have both, as is so often the case, is the best of all worlds.
But in a way, William Dalrymple, aren't we seeing some kind of a tradition now from the old Nehruvian elite to the new Modi-led India? The Nehruvian elite spoke in English, and there will be those who will argue, including the Prime Minister, that this led to some kind of an inferiority complex among those who couldn't speak the language. And now finally those who speak regional languages, Hindi in particular, are finally finding their voice. Do you really believe that a kind of inferiority complex was built in to our society in India by the Nehruvian elite, which is being shaken, dare I say, by the Modi elite?
Well, I think the new India is the India which is taking over every big business in America and doing terrifically well on the world stage, and these are the people who are leading India into its next phase. It's right, as you say, that people should not look down on regional languages, and they should celebrate regional languages and regional literature. At the Jaipur Literature Festival, which I help direct, my wonderful colleague Namita Gokhale curates at least 40 languages each year. Mm-hmm. We make a point of celebrating all those different literatures, and that's absolutely right and proper. But it's also important that the elite and the educated elite are able to deal internationally and take over businesses around the world. It's not either or. It's not a question of one or the other. It should be both, and that's a great Indian strength.
But do you, William Dalrymple, as you travel around India as a self-professed Indophile, do you notice any fragments of the colonial mindset at all? The old boxwalas of Kolkata playing a game of golf at the Tollygunj, having a gin and tonic. Do you believe all of that is a thing of the past? Are you saying that they are now marginal and the real India is very different, and in any case, it's a bit of an assimilation?
I would agree with that. Yes, I mean, even when I was first around in the 1980s, there were a couple of these old clubs left where a fringe would hang out having gin and tonics on the veranda. But even in the 1980s, they were not the dominant world. The dominant world was, people like Lalu Prasad Yadav in Bihar. There was already 30, 40 years ago, a whole new world of new Indias coming which had the real power, and these guys were a fringe. I think one of the great joys and strengths of Indian democracy was how quickly that elite got replaced by democratic strength of other groups. But having an educated elite, which is multilingual and capable of dealing with abroad, as opposed to a cultural elite sitting in British clubs, having the educated elite who are multilingual and running businesses in Bangalore and London and LA at the same time, that obviously is what we hope India will become: enormously rich, world dominant, and impressive, and performing at a top rank internationally.
And what is also true, and you reflect on many of these characters in your celebrated Empire podcast series, that it was actually, in a way, Thomas Macaulay's English focus that had led to European enlightenment in some way coming to India, modern values that inspired the likes of Mahatma Gandhi, Jawaharlal Nehru. They went to Britain, it shaped their intellectual thought, they brought it back and played a huge role in actually the freedom movement of this country.
Yes, I think exactly. I think you can underrate very badly how brilliant these guys were, again, pragmatically using the best of what was then, the cream of global education, but then using it for the benefit of India. I think the Nehruvian elite did what people do today. They're using their skill, their education, and their language abilities to make India the world-class #1 country, the best that it possibly can. So I wouldn't look down on the business elite and those who perform at this incredible international level at the very peak of their abilities, and they are the people that are leading India into the future, running banks, running big multinational companies, taking over all these fortune companies all over the world, and we see them wherever we go. There are Indians running everything, so they should be celebrated, not denigrated, I'd say.
Just to quote what Prime Minister Modi said again, William, he said, Macaulay broke the back of our self-confidence, filled us with a sense of inferiority, threw our entire way of life into a dustbin in one stroke. That was when the belief took root that Indians must adopt foreign ways to achieve anything. The sense of pride was gradually weakened. Do you think the Prime Minister is exaggerating it, that this is more politics? And as you said at the very outset, India is actually an example of the best of both worlds, West and East?
Exactly that. I mean, I think Macaulay was appalling, and my family fought very strongly against what he tried to do. But I don't think he broke India. India gained its independence. The Raj proper from 1858 to 1947 lasted a mere 90 years, which is a blink in the eye of Indian history, and has been long forgotten. This is a strong, independent country. It's incredibly self-confident, and Indians take what they need from that, and there are things which they can take which are of advantage to them. But the idea that they're sort of cowering and beholden to some sort of old ghost of Macaulay seems to me very underrating the brilliance, resilience, and pragmatism of Indians.
Interestingly, I can also tell you that Ashish Nandi, the sociologist, once said that cricket is an Indian game accidentally invented by the English.
That is an example, and of course it was the Parsis who were the first to take it up, the most Anglophile of all the communities. But but again, it's now become very much an Indian game and dominated by India, not by Britain.
But in conclusion, what's the best thing India can still take from the British? What's the one thing you'd like the British to take from India? The one thing.
So I think the best thing they can take from Britain is the language, the English language, to have the ability to speak English as well as your own languages, plural, is a great asset in this world. As for what Britain can learn from India, I think Indian entrepreneurship, Indian business acumen, and the energy of South Asia is something that we look upon and admire.
Okay, we heard there from William Dalrymple earlier. Thank you very much, William. I want to now turn my attention to joining me live, Amish Tripathi, another best-selling author. Appreciate your joining us. Amish, you heard William Dalrymple actually say India has the best of both worlds. Given what, do you agree with that? That actually we are a rare example where we've combined the benefits of English language and also been strongly committed to our regional indigenous culture. So is this a false binary, a false debate, Modi versus Macaulay, more political than cultural?
Look, I mean, I'm not anti-English, obviously. I mean, we are speaking in English, and English is the language of modern science. But I am a Hindi bhashi as well. I'm completely comfortable in Hindi, my mother tongue, as I'm sure you are in Marathi, and all of us are in our own languages. But where I agree with the Prime Minister is it's not so much the language. It is the way we approach our land, the way we approach knowledge systems. Let me give you a few examples. Our education system is such that we put allopathic medicines, the allopathic medicine system, right at the top, and do not spend enough effort to scientifically research our Ayurvedic traditions. And I can tell you, I've been living in the UK. Many Westerners are getting into Ayurveda and the traditional wellness systems because they know that outside of emergencies, these traditional medicine systems probably lead to better medical outcomes, right? The allopathic medicine system in the US, they spend 11% of their GDP on medicine. You could argue their medical outcomes are actually not that good as compared to Europe. Now, that's one aspect. Second aspect, look at, I'm talking about practical stuff, not just at a theoretical cultural level. You'll notice in schools, they tell us that there are 4 seasons. That's what I was taught. My son is 16 years old. He was taught the same thing. Summer, autumn, winter, spring. And I'd asked in school, ma'am, monsoon kahan gaya? Our ancestors were very clear that monsoon is the key season. India actually has 6 seasons. Europe has 4 seasons. And the key season for us was monsoon. That's why the Sanskrit word for year, varsh, is based on Varsha. That's why the Sanskrit word for a nation, Varsham, it's Bharat Varsham, right, is again based on Varsha, rain. Our entire way of life was built around the monsoon. Our temple ponds, our lake systems, essentially South Asia, Indian subcontinent, Southeast Asia, get all our annual supply of water within 2-3 months. Our entire way of life has to be built around how we manage that flood and dry season. Europe, etc., they don't have